Hey, just a heads up. Our tickets sold out for Kingston. Yay, thank you so much for selling out the show. We're so honored. I honestly didn't know. I was like, how would we do in Kingston?
How do we what?
So we have sold out the first block. There is a second block coming out tonight. It is not tickets, it's standing. Sorry, it's not tickets. It's not sitting, it's standing room only. But there are limited amounts, like very small. That's at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll tweet out the link. You can come see the podcast in Kingston. And just a heads up for anybody that if you miss out on the tickets or whatever, we obviously want you there for the live show. But the bar does open up to the general public because obviously the game is going on that night as well. Yep. We'll be hanging out for the game. So if we can't see you during the show, we'll see you after.
Yeah!
Yeah!
The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
What did I tell you?
To stuff your face with deliciousness.
No, well, yes. You should. You should. Because Panago pizza is delicious. And it's 11 degrees outside, and it's like a delicious pizza night, I think.
Right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No,
It's warm. It's cheesy.
I told you not to have faith in this Toronto Maple Leafs hockey team. And, boy, gosh, I hate being right all the time. But yet again, I'm correct.
You got a pretty good, 7-year streak going.
Of being correct all the time?
All the time.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
I mean, me too.
They call me can't miss Wild.
Yeah.
Because I can't miss.
I sit there at night and I think of the Jeff Petrie move that the Canadians made that Adam Wilde guaranteed they would make. And I sit there and I say, wow, it was so great that happened. Because he's always right.
It's true.
And even if it didn't happen, it would have been right to have happened.
It actually would have. It would have. The Montreal Canadiens are no better than they were and are not in the playoffs, and they're going to keep them next year so they can just miss the playoffs again.
Say something else.
I'm excited. No, I can't wait. Hold me to that, Habs fans. Unless Carey Price plays 920, they're not going.
It's the internet. They've already forgotten.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, listen, let's get into somehow we're going to do this. Who wore the crown?
Ooh.
Woo! Guys, as you know, live generously and life will treat you royally. Why not pour yourself and a friend a crown royal?
Why not?
A crown royal, because we're going to talk about who wore the crown, where we, with the help of you, recognize a Leaf player each show who gives it their all for the blue and white, because it's our town. It is our crown, and it's not about what you have, but what you have to give. Let's crown a Leaf that lives generously by giving it all for their team. Brought to you by your friends at Crown Royal. Live generously. Life will treat you royally. Let's get into it. Stephen Dangle.
You know, Leafs have been... We'll obviously get into this. I do not think the sky is falling in quite the way that people are saying. However, they did lose 3 consecutive games to teams in hockey that are not good at hockey. So, we got to look for who performed the best. Who performed the best over the California road trip. A team scored 3 goals in those 3 games.
Pretty sad.
Pretty sad. I think 2 since our last show. Or no, 1 goal since our last show in 2 games.
That's right.
Who scored it?
Don't care.
What do you mean you don't care?
I don't care. Because it's the play of the team that sucks.
The play of the team that sucks. But who scored the 1 goal?
I don't know, Steve. Tell me.
William damn Nylander. I'm giving it to William Nylander. He's been arguably their best player. Who without a mask, and he is exactly the kind of player who will succeed and thrive in Toronto for years to come. And we'll get into that later in the show, but I'm giving it to William Nylander.
I'm just making a note here.
It's your turn to crown
that
someone,
note?
Adam.
What's that note, Adam?
I'm just saying, I wrote, Steve is mad about guy who said he won't come here. That's what I wrote down.
Oh, was that not in your prep?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
but
just
we
making sure that we have that
do we
in
want to
there.
talk about that?
Oh, we should talk about how you got canceled on Twitter.
Canceled.
Yeah. Someone actually tweeted Adam and I and were like, check in on Steve after his take about you get endorsements and can't play anymore in Toronto.
Yeah.
So
I only know 1 language, and I know what I said.
Oh, we'll get into it later.
Oh, we'll get into it.
we'll get it.
We'll get into it.
Guys, I'm hard pressed on this one, but I'm going to give it to Auston Matthews.
Oh.
I think Auston Matthews has played great too, and I you say William Nylander, arguably their best player, and I know that I'm going to be the minority on this because you've already claimed it. Jesse, we already know how he feels about William Nylander. To me, Auston Matthews is by far the best player and has played the best on the team.
Yeah, there's Nylander, arguably the best player. Matthews
is
and
has been
and doesn't matter who you are. Everyone's just like, that guy's a bull in a china shop, right?
Yes.
Do we forgive him for the second Anaheim goal?
Well, that was
where
it
he
was
just passed the puck to the front of the net for the opposing
horrible.
team.
It was horrible.
Here's the thing. When you've scored 47 goals, I give you a pass. Okay. He's going to be on the ice.
That's what Matthews did to the Ducks. He gave them a pass.
Hey!
Jesse, he's on. He's on.
Coffee kicked in.
Is it good?
It's good.
Woo!
It's good.
Auston Matthews is probably the best hockey player we've seen play on this team in our lifetime. We don't even know it yet. And I think that there is, I think I know it from seeing it, but I don't think people realize he's worth every penny. There are players who make near him that are not, but he is absolutely worth every penny. And I think there is it's unfortunate that this season has been such a Jekyll and Hyde whack show craziness of, Babcock getting fired and this team not being consistent and everything else that's going on, because it's overshadowing what is and what probably will be, if things keep going the way they are, a historic performance by a Leaf player.
I don't think it's got anything to do with him.
I know that, but it's still overshadowing it.
Yeah.
And I think if he beats Rick Vai's record, which is very much within his grasp to do, people are going to be like, yeah, so what? You guys didn't win. And rightfully so, which I would say the same thing. I'm still going to be Auston Matthews' biggest supporter. But I have to tell you, it's a shame that it's not getting more press. What should be the story this year, and if this team was playing up to what it should be, what should have been the story is Auston Matthews' season. What unfortunately is the story is the garbage that they keep putting out on the ice for us. Jesse, go ahead.
Saturday.
Whole world of possibility.
What kind of loser plays on a Saturday anyway?
Not the Leafs this week.
That's
Friday night, one guy showed up with 3 minutes left to go in the game. Tried to will them back into it. It was William Nylander. Only goal of the game. Only goal in, what was it? What was the time? It was like couple 100 minutes.
They almost were the first team ever or something like that to get shut out back-to-back games in Southern California.
Insane. Anyways, William Nylander scored a goal to break that streak. And on that goal, it was all him. He caused that turnover at the blue line. He took the puck around the edge and he shot it and went right in.
Yeah.
So
it's even better. It's even better if you word it differently. William Nylander with an amazing defensive play to convert it into offense.
Right. Which so many people criticize him for.
It's so nice to see all the William Nylander crap go away.
Yeah.
It's so nice. Now, there's a lot of other crap to take its place, but it is so great to have, like, anybody that I know that is the $10 million, because, he made the $10 million prorated last year. Anybody that I know that used to say that stuff cannot say a thing. William Nylander has single-handedly shut every boomer take up, and I don't want to paint all.
Starting to look stupid.
I don't want to paint all the boomers with one brush because that's not fair. But for those who are like, he doesn't play a Canadian way, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. William Nylander has done everything anybody has asked for. He scored like the most goals in tight with the goalie. There's nothing else William Nylander can do. He is a phenomenal hockey player. He's playing to his level. He's overplaying his contract. It's a beautiful thing.
And he did it he turned the tide with his play. He could have done it he could have tried to do it in any other way, being nice to the media and all that, but he just shut up and scored a bunch of goals, and that was goal number 30, and it's undeniable at this point.
What's your favorite William Nylander quote?
Yeah, there is none.
Yeah, there's none.
It doesn't exist. You're never going to get a good quote out of him.
No, literally, my favorite William Nylander quote, prosciutto. It's from his Instagram.
Because he was eating prosciutto.
I've interviewed a guy. I don't remember what his voice sounds like.
Yeah,
he just scores goals.
He's a hockey player.
Yes.
Let him play hockey.
Yes. Prosciutto.
That's who gets my crown.
With that's who wore the crown for this episode. Brought to you as always by Crown Royal. Next time the puck drops, why not?
Nylander!
Live generously and treat your Leafs crew to a Crown Royal Old Fashioned. Now, before we keep going, I want to say a very happy International Women's Day to all of the women and female identifying people that listen to this show, thank you so much for listening to us. Thank you so much for being a part of our experience. And obviously, there's a lot of work to do when it comes to women's hockey. But we just wanted to say a shout out to you. Thank you for everything that you do. And obviously, there's an article that I want to point to towards the end of the show. Christina Rutherford wrote something on Dani Rylan. We'll get into that. But it's fitting that it came out today. Christina is one of the most talented writers in the sport. And this profile that she does, it's a Sportsnet big read. It's really, really, really good.
Another really good big read. I believe it's the top 25 women in the sport. That's from Emily Sadler at Sportsnet.
Yes. Yes.
And it's enormous.
Yeah.
I lost count of how many scrolls it is, but it's really, really good. And she's an up and comer, Emily Sadler.
Yeah.
She's not one of the biggest names yet. She will be. And she kicked someone's ass in a charity boxing match.
Did she?
She did.
Damn.
Kicked their ass.
I would not do a charity boxing match.
No, it's one of those things I like to dream about and never do.
Yeah.
You know?
Even with because they put face protectors on you and stuff like that. Even with that, I have no interest in the neck pain associated. No thanks.
Or brain.
Or brain power.
Yeah.
Well, I doubt that they hit that hard in a charity thing, do they?
I don't know.
Well, dude,
I
even
don't
if they
intend
did,
on finding out.
Yeah, I will never know. Emily knows.
I'll
ask Emily.
Adam and I have a close friend who boxes, Jax, from our morning show.
Right,
And
but
apparently it's
she boxes?
Yeah, she boxes all the time because apparently it's one of the best way to get cardio.
It is.
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It is.
It's the best high intensity.
Thing is,
workouts.
though, she doesn't get hit back like she hits a mannequin, right? She
Right.
doesn't. She's not.
She hits the bags or a mannequin.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the very few times that I did any like MMA classes or Muay Thai or boxing, they get you like exhausted, then the class starts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's unreal.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we're going to get into the Leafs and how they blew it in California. 1 out of a possible 6 points. This
Seems
is
bad.
well, it would be bad if Florida hadn't packed it in. Now, Florida did win last night. I believe
Yep.
the point spread now is 3 points, so well within striking distance. It's like Florida and the Leafs both don't want to go to the playoffs. But rather convincing win for Florida against Montreal last night on Roberto Luongo night. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But for now, I mean, listen, I said a couple of weeks ago that you should not have faith in this team. I certainly don't. But I didn't think that playing the 3 worst teams in the West would lead to not just losses. Losses are one thing. Stagnation of offense, which is the one thing they're good at. Mm-hmm. The Leafs are a top 3 offense in the sport. They're also a bottom 3 when it comes to goals against average. And it's shocking to me that the one thing that they're good at, I mean, these 3 teams cannot score. So it's not surprising that the games were low scoring. How is it possible? How is it possible? And Scott Wheeler put something in The Athletic today, and he's gone through the last 17 games. It seems like the Leafs have been figured out. And I'm going to point specifically to the power play again.
Oh boy.
I don't understand. Explain to me this. Explain to me why it has to be passed 40 times before we hit the blue line.
All
Yeah.
backwards.
I would rather them just go to dump and chase. They're faster than anyone anyway. And I'm not a dump and chase guy. I'm a possession guy. But it's fairly clear that all you have to do is, if you are on a penalty kill against the Leafs, stand your 4 guys on the blue line, and they're going to back pass it until they're running out of people to back pass it to, and then they're going to try to charge through you, which doesn't work.
I'm not a dump and chase guy. I'm a try literally anything different guy. And this is I think mostly Mitch Marner's challenge, because you see he's battling out there. Like, we're going to spend some time on him today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he a few weeks ago the team looked like they didn't care and they're not trying. That poor guy is trying so damn hard, and it's to his detriment. He took that stupid penalty. I can't remember which game that was. Was that Anaheim?
I don't remember.
Yes.
It was,
I wanna say.
one of the California.
It was
Yeah.
the one where he was trying to get the puck and he got frustrated. and
The
then
trip.
He,
It
yeah.
was a guy I've never heard of, Sheldon something.
That happened Friday. Yeah.
Creative
Sure.
player.
Yeah, Kiefer Sherwood, I think. Anyway,
He's a stick.
but I knew the game was going poorly, or the power play was going poorly, when Matthews and Marner switched spots, and the broadcast went, "Oi! Whoa! They changed spots." Remember all we yelled about when the power play switched up and it actually started working? I'm like, it took you 2 years to just try Matthews and Marner switching sides. And now the power play has not been very good for a while now.
It's been 2 years.
And they switched it up.
Well, you know what? I think the other...
Its
It's
percentage is good. Its
Sure.
percentage
Yeah.
isn't bad, but over the last little while,
Consistent?
it's completely stagnated.
I think part of the problem is that you have one guy who can shoot on the entire power play. Auston Matthews. I mean,
Two
listen.
guys.
Well, yeah, Willie's got a shot,
Yeah.
but it always whistles wide. Willie's goals are in tight, right?
Yeah.
They are. Marner cannot shoot. Tyson Barrie shoots at your knees. And who else is out there?
Well, Tavares is there for deflections. He doesn't
Yep.
have a lot of space to shoot where he is. And Nylander, I mean, he's usually looking for the pass, right? He can shoot, but he's rarely in a position to on the power play, I find. It's
And
just-
why not?
It's completely stagnant. Why not? And it's always the same 5 guys, though. Like, what? You can't switch it up a little once?
Who are you going to switch it up?
yeah, who do you
Yeah,
take
who-
off that?
Anybody for anybody.
You're literally putting your 5 best offensive players out there plus, or 4 best plus Tyson Barrie.
See, I agree that they should do that.
Right. I
Yeah.
don't disagree with the lineup at all.
I agree. I
Okay.
disagree
It's
with
just-
what they're doing.
Exactly.
That's probably, I mean, they are the 5 most capable guys. Just
Yeah.
have them do something different.
Right.
Which, yeah, I don't have a problem with. That's
Yeah.
true.
And looking at the numbers over the course of the entire season, they rank 7th in power play percentage.
That's
and
crazy, isn't it?
And goals for, they're 2nd.
Are they really?
Going into California, they're 1st overall, and then Tampa passed them over the weekend. But they're 2nd in goals for on the entire
I
season.
got to tell you,
that's goals for.
7th in
Yeah.
I'd be curious
percentage.
to know where they are in terms of. So they're 7th in percentage. What are they in terms of power play goals for?
Power play
I
goals
bet they're
for. Give
way
me
down.
like half a second.
On account of they
Can
don't
I just
get
throw
as
this
many.
out there? 7th in percentage is not good enough. That's 40. They have, forget
I know what you
Tyson
mean.
Barrie. They have $40 million out there.
Yeah, right.
Half the salary of the team is out there. Sorry, you should be number 1 or number 2 on everything.
You take a penalty against the Leafs, it should be a death sentence.
Yes, and it isn't.
Yeah, it should be the same feeling you get when Tampa goes on the power play.
Yes.
And you can go, well, Steve, just a few games ago, William Nylander scored I think it was a highlight reel power play
Oh
goal.
my God, it was
and they went,
amazing.
I think it was 3 for 3 against Tampa.
Great.
There's one game.
This is a little
Do it again.
interesting.
That's the shitty thing about the season, man. Keep her going.
That's the shitty thing about this Leafs team over the season.
Red Wings have won like 16 times. Doesn't mean they're good.
Yeah, 4 times against Montreal. You know,
That's
if
true.
they had just lost those games, think of where Montreal might be. Anyway, sorry.
Think of where.
Man.
So I said they sit 7th in power play percentage. They sit 10th in total goals scored on the power
It doesn't
play.
surprise me that that's lower. It's not as much lower as I thought, but
Okay.
yeah, interesting.
So yeah, what do you take away from that then?
What I think
If
is
they-
that
Well, they're just not getting as many opportunities.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But the opportunities they do get, they should be number 1 or number 2 in percentage. There's no excuse. There's absolutely no excuse. It's not just the money paid, it's the skill there. Show me a team with more skill on that. And show me a power play that wastes more time getting set up than the Leafs. That's the biggest problem. They can execute once they're in. But how many power plays do we see that they can't even gain a zone entry?
They're like, okay, Sharks played a good game, and the Leafs got goalied a bit. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
So there was that.
Yeah, Martin Jones had his good game this year.
And that happens, but
Yeah.
this is more than that happening.
Yes.
This is
Right.
3 games.
No, but now moving on to like so Sharks. I even said in the video, I'm like, I'm fully willing to forgive this loss. It's a loss. It's just a regular loss. You're not going to win every game. That's fine. LA and Anaheim. Anaheim didn't even look like they had any interest in winning.
No.
Neither of
And they
those
lost their
teams-
goalie. They lost
Yes.
Gibson.
Yeah.
Like neither, and they were having a laugh the whole game. They were having a laugh. The Ducks are playing pond hockey because their games don't matter.
David Backes can barely skate. It's
Man,
like
is
bad.
he cooked?
Yeah.
Boy,
Well, he
oh
could
boy.
have cracked Boston's lineup.
I'm really glad though that he was traded from Boston because they wanted him to take on a fighter's role, and I thought, dude,
Oh, no.
don't do that. Like,
He
just
should not be taking any more hits to the head. Who was it who crushed him? Clifford? And then I saw him
Yeah.
hit the ice, and I was worried his head hit the ice. And
like you've had a great career. You're young, because really 35 or whatever he is young.
it's in the grand scheme of things,
Oh, yeah.
Quite young. I mean, I'm 3 years away from 35.
double your age, and you'll still probably have 20 years
But
left.
his body looks done. Like playing at an NHL level.
Yeah,
You know?
he may just be LTIR next year. Although Anaheim can't really afford that.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I don't know what's gonna
regardless,
happen.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, he does look cooked. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. I just think it's. I'm so glad he's not in Boston because when I saw those quotes come out a couple years ago before the playoffs with, we had a conversation with Bruce Cassidy and then he said that he's going to be the tough guy. I'm so glad that he doesn't have to do that now
Yeah.
In Anaheim, he just has to be Guy, whose career is over after this next season. He's got one more year left. That'll be it.
It's not an insult. It's just it's time. It comes for everybody.
Play it out on this team is going to be bottom 10, you know?
There will be a time when we are too crotchety and old manish to do this. And I hope...
And that time was 2 years ago, depending on who you
I
ask.
hope our family are smart enough to pull us off the show and go, okay, guys, you're done now.
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
That's enough.
Yep. I don't want to be 85 and doing this, guys. I love you, but not that late.
And what if you got into a podcast management role? What if you were a scout?
Potentially, yes. Yeah, exactly.
This Mike Stevens guy, I don't know. His takes aren't hot enough.
Can I just
Does
be
he
the
have
guy?
what it takes?
Can I be the guy who's just paid to show up at like public events? I want to be that guy, just like an alumni guy. I don't want to do any work. I
You
just
want to
a
step out
salary.
and put the jacket around the fan.
Right. I just want to come out for like the troops things, or
Yeah.
something
You're
at
Wendell
Dundas
Clark.
Square.
Yeah.
I don't want to actually work.
And here's Leafs alumni Christian Hansen.
Right.
That has happened multiple times.
And they get paid for that.
That
yeah.
is bananas. Christian Hansen was a fourth line Leaf for 5 seconds.
He's an alumni.
Yep.
But
So
that,
I want to be a podcast alumni
I like
guy.
that. I like that. I'm sure this burgeoning podcast industry of ours is going to definitely have a budget for that, Jesse.
Right.
How
full
teary-
salary and benefits.
How teary is that ceremony, that podcast Hall of Fame ceremony, when they raise your banner up to the, and it's like not even a banner, it's just a giant phone case with your
Right.
face on it or something like that. You know what I mean?
What year is it? 2060?
No, it's like 2022.
Oh my God! What?
Come on.
Yeah,
what?
no, because we're going to be finished.
What? No, not by then.
Oh, yeah.
We're not. No. The great thing about broadcasting is you can go for 30, 40 years, but then you got to cut it off.
My goal is to go until well beyond me being good at it.
It seems to be happen a lot.
I'm
in this
gonna be.
industry.
I'm gonna
be
keep
honest with
going.
you. I'm gonna be on a golf course in Florida or something. I'm gonna be well out of here. Not that I don't love doing this, but everything's got a time limit, and all good things come to an end.
It'll be like Louisiana because Florida's gonna sink away.
Right.
You know?
Yes. Yeah.
Rising water levels.
True.
People.
That's true. I'll be in tropical Denver.
Exactly.
At that point. Yeah. Be at a beach in Denver. 1,000 feet above sea level. Well, at that point,
Not
it'll be 50
anymore.
feet.
We're actually at sea level.
No, we're just talking about Dave Baggis. I'm sorry. This was not. Yeah. Anyway, the issue
So they
here.
couldn't score.
They can't
The
score.
Kings didn't cross center ice for like the second and third period.
That's because the Kings don't know how to play offense.
Right. But they played this, like, just simple, dumb defensive style, and it stifled the Leafs entirely.
It's crazy. If the Leafs also did that, they could stifle teams too.
If they did, well, and, like, it's crazy. Like, 3 straight games of pretty good goaltending, pretty good defense.
I like the way Freddie looked.
Like the way Freddie looked, like the way Jack
Campbell
looked.
was amazing.
Yeah.
3 losses. So that's where I don't get. They're going to score.
Sure.
Oh, the Leafs have been found out. Oh, all it took was friggin' 69 games? Come on now.
No, this is what they've been. This is what they are. At 69 games, we know what this team is, guys.
Yeah.
They're a win 3, lose 3 team. That's what they are the whole way. And I hate to say it, but that's all they've shown us all year. When people show you who they are, believe them.
But
When
depending on the
teams
order
show
they
you-
do it in, they could win the cup that way.
Sure. Listen, I am good with that. But until such time as they actually prove that they can win something, which they haven't, because here's what I see, guys. They're going to go to the first round. Let's say they make it, because that's still very much up in the air.
Yeah.
So-
it seems like just by default, Florida's not going to get it.
Yeah. The worst thing Florida could do, which is what they've done, is they've given up on Bobrovsky. That's the worst.
Already?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because that's horrible for the Leafs because they had a goalie who couldn't play goalie. And so the Leafs, now Florida's got a goalie. Because there's actually, I don't even know who it is, but it's not Bobrovsky. His
their
name is
backup?
not Bobrovsky.
There's Montembeau, and I don't remember who else.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
The fact is,
They might make it, but
yeah, so if the Leafs don't make it, oh my God. But if they do make it, what's going to happen? What do we know is going to happen, guys? They're going to play Tampa in the first round, assuming that Tampa doesn't overtake Boston, which is very much a possibility.
could happen.
Because they're coming on strong.
Could
and that
happen.
Boston-Tampa game, by the way, was so much fun. So much
they
fun.
played like 2 teams who know they're going to play each other.
Yes. Yes. But my problem here, guys, is that we know that if the Leafs get into the playoffs, they're going to play one of those 2 teams. And what's going to happen?
Nothing nice.
Here is your ass on a plate.
They didn't have the courtesy to give it on a plate? A bowl seems more practical.
But then people sit there and they tell you they beat Tampa a week and a half ago, and they looked incredible.
Once. And no, they didn't. Like, they looked all right. They weathered the storm.
Yeah, and they beat them.
And that's all they need to do. Yeah, listen, I think I'm not as down on the Leafs as people may think because of the David Ayres video, but they don't look like world beaters. But I'm having a really hard time. I just look at the 6 defensemen they ice, and we bring back Cody Ceci.
Yeah.
And I still looked at, and I'm like, there's no combination of these 6 names I like.
Chris Dredger?
Drieger. Who's been around for, he's the youngest goalie to have ever been in the league for 40 years.
He's 5-2-1 with a .299 goals against average and a .932 save percentage.
Wow!
The best thing Florida can do is give up on Bobrovsky, and that's bad news for the Leafs.
It's $10 million.
Yep.
No, Drieger's been around for a long time, but he's
better than
done well
Bobrovsky right now.
He's done well. That is unbelievable that Sergei Bobrovsky's losing his job to, what's his first name?
Chris
Drieger.
Drafted 2012, 3rd round by the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, he was in their system for a long time.
Wow.
Like, what are his numbers in the minors this year?
This year, he was a .932 in the minors.
Oh, wow.
It's really good, yeah.
He's having a good year. All right, well, there you go. But I have a hard time. This is going to sound like letting them off the hook, which I am very not going to do later in the show. Mm-hmm. But if the Leafs turn in efforts like they did against San Jose, LA, and Anaheim, I think it's fixable enough that when they get Riley and Muzzin back, they should be rolling.
Mm-hmm.
They were not.
What? That's fair.
They did things defensively, at least, that I didn't think they were capable of, especially for consecutive games. And it's not surprising to me that they had trouble scoring because they're clearly putting an emphasis on that.
Counterpoint.
Right? They're clearly putting an emphasis on not being garbage defensively.
Counterpoint. They played the 3 worst teams in the West who all can't score goals.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. There's nothing I can say that would make it good. I'm not being negative about the Leafs. I think I'm being realistic. This is not a great team. It might be a good team. Even with Riley and Muzzin back, yes, it stabilizes the defense. But let's not pretend it looked good when they were playing.
We don't have to be over the moon about a 8th place team.
No, I'm not.
Like, if you just look at the standings, it's the 8th place team in the conference. Mm-hmm. Why would we ever be super excited about that? No, it's realistic to be like, okay, they're mediocre.
And last year, we called for the 1-8 playoff format. We're still calling for it.
I would take it.
And everyone's just like, oh, it's just because it hurts the Leafs. There is a chance that by the end of the season, the Leafs will have the 9th best record in the Eastern Conference and make it.
They could have the 11th best.
They could. The Metro is better.
Yeah.
Which is wrong. Yeah. That should not happen.
No.
That shouldn't happen.
The Leafs shouldn't make the playoffs if they don't deserve to make the playoffs.
It's a joke.
It is a joke. Like
it's a joke.
A joke.
The and I don't know what when it is you want to go in on the Leafs. I'm actually surprised at how measured you are.
Yeah, me too.
Because ultimately, you freaked out over way less than this. They just lost 3 fucking games in a row, man.
I know. No, but like, I've seen this team at its worst this season, and I just don't feel like I saw that the last 3 games.
Well, great against the 3 worst teams in the West.
No, I know. I'm struggling.
3 goals in 3 games.
I'm struggling with how to feel. I really am. I don't know.
Like, at what point is the process just not good? Well, eventually we're going to get results.
Right.
Really? When's that?
Game 70? Game 71?
Oh, you know what, guys? The process, we knew by game 7 we'd have it.
What?
We'd have it. No, process kicks in game 20.
No, and the fact of the matter is it doesn't matter who's in the lineup, they need better performances out of who they've got. Mm-hmm. Justin Hall is finally playing probably his best hockey under his new contract, or since he signed that new contract. Pierre, where'd you go? Where did you go?
Engvall, right?
Pierre Engvall. Dude, you're finally in the show. You had to wait a while. You're playing in the Swedish league.
You got your extension.
And you disappeared. And I kept hearing people go, He hasn't scored in this amount of time. He hasn't scored. And I kept going, I feel like he has. What are you talking about? Like, hasn't he? He scored recently, hasn't he? Yeah, it was against David Ayers. Like, he's got like one goal in the last 20 or something like that. It was against the same bounty driver, who won, by the way. They're undefeated. But he's disappeared, and they give him the shot of an opportunity, or shot of a lifetime with Tavares and Nylander, and whiffed on the puck. I want to say that was in the Kings game, or it might have been in the Sharks game. And other than that, he's guy. Like, he's floaty, lanky guy.
Even like Malgin has 0 points.
Malgin is
He's just a placeholder.
right-handed
Like-
Nick Patan.
Come on.
Yeah,
He's
he is.
right-handed Nick Patan, where I bet if you looked at his numbers, they'd be all right. He's feisty, he's fast, and a big bunch of nothing happens when he's on the ice. That's Nick Patan in a nutshell. People go, look at his numbers, and I'm like, look at the team not scoring when he's there.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
I'm
Nothing
sorry.
bad happens, but nothing good either.
Right, it's
There's
just
nothing.
if you need someone to cancel out the play, which you do need, that's your guy.
You know how I feel about cancel culture, Steve.
Well, Nick Patan, Dennis Malgin, these should be on the same line. Cancel culture. That's what we'll call the whole thing. Them and and I guess Engvall. Because he doesn't. I wouldn't say he does anything bad. We have the cancel culture line. Pierre Engvall, Dennis Malgin, Nick Patan. All three can play center. All three can play wing because it does not matter. Doesn't matter. We need more. I called for, in the pregame, I think it was before the Kings game, we need more to Travis Dermott. Damn it, we got it. So, like, we're getting above average, or like we're getting next level performances out of certain guys.
Yep.
You just need more. You just need more. Like, you won 3 playoff games last year. You got to win 16 to get a championship. It's not the difference between
like my math
sign this
score.
guy and trade it. Yeah.
3 of 16, baby.
Oh.
Woo!
Oh, that was a regular
Man,
thing.
that's
not good.
like 50%, right?
That's 50% of what I was expecting.
Like, anyway.
No, and then so
You need more.
right, and so let's talk about Mitch Marner for a second.
Yeah, you've talked about all the defensive guys and
Yeah.
all the secondary players on all the secondary skaters, but what about Mitch Marner?
I'm not going to hammer him like everyone else has. I feel like, listen, with your star play, here's the long and short of it. People go, he's young, he's got this many points. I'm not even going to get into the money, which the money is very much a factor. They just need more. What gives me pause and what gives me reason for optimism is he clearly understands that. I'm fine with Mitch and Auston and whoever else being pissed off now. I'm okay with that now. People, when I was in Peterborough yesterday, at the Peterborough Pete's game, everyone's going, what's going on with those Leafs? Lost 3 straight. What's going on with them? I'm like, you know what? They've gone into the playoffs fat and happy too many times.
Yeah, they basically take off from January to March.
Yeah. And what the Leafs have made the playoffs 4 straight years. Right? Or is it 4?
3.
3, and this would be 4. Sorry.
Yes.
They've been playoffs 3 straight years, 3 straight first-round exits. What's the one that we always look back on with fondness?
Washington,
Washington! Which they lost in 6!
not 7.
Boston, they at least took them to 7 both times. We look back on Washington because they overachieved. The Leafs should have lost in 3, and that was the narrative going into it. They should have lost in 3. They should have got swept by Washington, but they had to fight tooth and nail to get into that stupid thing, and they barely got into that stupid thing, and they did not waste that opportunity. They ended up losing. The best team won. What do you want? Boston, both years now, consecutively, they've had a nice little nap for the last 2 months heading into the playoffs. If the Leafs end up making it, which again is still up in the air, I actually kind of like their chances a little bit more this year than last, because at least they'll be they understand what it took to get here. They'll appreciate what a pain in the ass the 2 months leading up to the playoffs was. Right? I'm happy.
Be nice if they played like that.
Yeah, but they're losing along the way.
I agree. And listen, there's nothing, at the end of the day, I'm never going to come to the conclusion that the last 3 games were good.
Okay.
Okay? But I'm going to be optimistic about the process here, that Marner is playing like he gives the biggest shit. Scored the sexiest goal of his entire career against San Jose.
Oh, that was a beautiful
And
goal.
like so many highlights with the Leafs, wasted in a game that they lost. The Matthews point goal, lost. The Matthews ear thing, they ended up winning that in overtime after Patrick Kane scored like 20 seconds later because Garrett Sparks was in net.
He just wanted a chance.
Yeah, there's so many highlight reel goals of this era, we'll call it the Matthews Marner era, whatever, that are wasted to losses. And poor Mitch had his wasted.
Yeah, and that's pro sports.
Yes.
I think, and I also, especially with a young hockey team, I think.
But more is sorry, I'm saying all these beautiful things about him. You're a star. You're supposed to be the star of the team, and more is expected of you. And it's not fair, and life's not fair. That's fine.
Oh no, it's fair.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, it's 1,000% fair. No. Mitch Marner.
If you score 90 points a season, people want you to score 100. That's how it goes.
Well, when you get paid, he's paid to score 100 points a
Right.
season. He's not paid to score 90.
No, I'm signing with you. I'm just wording it weird.
Okay.
Like, I know. If Auston is going to snore his way to like 55 goals, and the discussion will be, why didn't he hit 60? And it's not a criticism. It is, you're great. You're great. So when the Leafs lose, they look at you. John Tavares, I think, has been playing great recently, and he's been taking a lot of flack.
I don't know why.
I think
he's the
been
one guy
playing
you can
great.
rely on.
Just because he put up 45 last year and now he's at like 29.
47.
47.
Yeah,
sorry.
well, and he broke his finger. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think he's been playing absolutely great, and Matthews has been playing absolutely great.
And the Leafs are going to have
Marner's
3
been
guys
playing
with over 30 goals.
absolutely great, at least. You know, Zach Hyman might even have something to say about that. It's unbelievable, and he's another guy where I look at that whole top line and I go, I'm sorry, what am I supposed to be criticizing here other than Matthews' brutal giveaway? They lost.
Okay,
they lost.
But what I want to say about Mitch, because I was extra hard on Mitch, I was extra hard on him. Yeah, the effort's there. It's great. That's what I want to see.
Yes. And the undisciplined penalty, I want him taking those penalties now.
Yeah, that's fine. I
want him
don't mind
taking
that.
them
That's that shit happens. Like
Yeah,
whatever.
it's hockey.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a trick.
You get
yeah,
frustrated.
and you get frustrated and you
Yeah.
take undisciplined. Yeah, that happens. Mitch Marner, the thing that I had, the issue I had, is the effort thing can never not be there. That's the point.
Totally.
You want to wear an A, you want to make $11 million, sorry, but that's what it's going to be. But
You're right, but I feel like we've beat that horse.
I
You know what I mean?
will continue to beat that horse.
No, but the effort's there now.
Yeah, that's what I'm
You know what I
saying.
mean?
But I'm giving him that.
Oh, right.
Saying,
Okay.
great, the effort's there. But it's like Jesse, what do you always say when I say someone's really nice?
That should be the bare minimum.
That's the bare minimum.
So you need to get in the door.
Game breaker money. You're not always going to be the game breaker. You're not always going to play like the game breaker. You know, Taze has had some off seasons. Kane is not always the best player on the ice. But you mostly should be.
Sidney Crosby, too.
Of course.
Like,
Listen,
the disrespect that guy takes.
I get it.
It's
I get it.
unbelievable.
But my
It's
point
like
is,
people
it's
forget the
nice
best player in the league exists.
it's nice to see Mitch come back to where Mitch should be effort-wise. The execution will come. We know he's going to score points. And that goal was amazing to watch. Like, I'm rooting for this guy. But the point here is that is bare minimum stuff. Mitch Marner there used to be a joy to Mitch Marner's game that this season has not existed.
He didn't have it at first. He found it and he lost it. He's lost it. And I kind of... he's got to find this. That is the next evolution in him. He's a star. Do we all agree he's a star?
Sure.
Yeah.
He's a star. The next evolution is in him. It seems like he can only put up 2, 3, 4 points a game when he's in kid who just ate a bunch of pixie sticks mode. And he's super happy, and it's the next generation game, and we win 8-6. Man, the playoffs, if you're lucky, are 2 months long. We got to see his next evolution is you need to give us a struggling, a game where you cannot find it, angry, pissed off performance where you succeed.
Yeah.
Nothing is going right for you.
Grit it out.
And you still, yes.
And that doesn't mean
that's what
hitting or
champions
biting
do.
or whatever else you want to call it. That doesn't mean he has to fight someone.
No,
Yeah. My
no,
complaint,
I would
though-
never call for Mitch Marner to fight.
My complaint, though, is that I don't think his game lends to being a game breaker. Like, I don't think the way he plays right now, he's going to dominate a game because it's more about getting the other guys the puck. And I feel like he's got to find a way to take over the game on his own without relying on his teammates.
And be the game-making playmaker.
He can't. He's
I
not
think
really
shoot more. Right?
He's
so
not.
I think it's that simple.
Yeah, it's probably that simple. He's become a better goal scorer, but he's not. He's never going to be the one guy. He always seems like the 1A or the 1B. You know, he's the Robin to Batman who's Austin. You know,
or John Tavares.
I'd say he's more like the Vegeta to Goku. Right? Vegeta was more useful to Batman than Robin was. No, sorry, fuck. Vegeta was more useful to Goku than Robin was to Batman.
Right.
And that is going to be the entire comment section for the show now, is the war over what I just said there. But,
I hope this team gets to a point where you got 3 guys who can take over the game. Because right now it seems like it's JT and it's Austin who could really, okay, I'm the star. I'm getting paid the $11 million. I'm going to win this game for us. And I feel like, and I want Mitch to get into that category where it's the 3 of them. It feels like right now he's kind of just this little step below. And I hope he can change his game to where it's that.
But there's room.
There is, and he
100%.
has the skill.
Yeah, 100%.
The one
He's
thing that is
probably
giving
gonna
me
get there.
pause, because, I
not
mean,
yet.
when you talk about hockey, you try to solve all the world's issues. And, we got to do this, we got to do that, and you got to blow up the core. The difference with the Leafs core is it's younger than yours. Right? So, on Mario Lemieux didn't make the playoffs till whatever, is what I keep hearing from people. Mitch is going to get better. Austin is going to get better.
Willie's going to get better.
Willie's going to get
been
better.
great.
Yeah.
Dermott's going to get better. Like, it may simply just not be their time.
It might just be,
It may simply just not be their time, which is super unfortunate.
What if
and
they
it's
simply-
frustrating, and it's the least sexy thing you could possibly say.
What if they
Yeah.
simply grew up, Steve?
Immediately? What if they simply grew up this week?
You know what, Steve? I think you're bang on that one.
Yeah.
I think, and that's the thing. You know, we a couple weeks ago got pretty bent out of shape about that Carolina game, as one does.
But that
when
was like the 3rd time we did it this year.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
There
were
do
a
you remember
lot
the game
in-
before the All-Star break?
There were a
Where they
lot
just
of
took
rapid
off the
succession.
game? Come on.
There were a lot,
Yeah.
and they had a very bad run of games. They deserved to be screamed at.
But
Which is why we've seen them at their shittiest, and I looked at these 3 games and I went, well, there's no situation where getting 1 out of 6 points in California is acceptable, but I at least saw some give a shit.
yeah,
You
and
know what I
that's
mean?
that's all I ask.
Yeah.
And
Now-
now I was the one that was saying, like, if you got to trade someone, trade Mitch Marner, right? Like, and I stand by that. If you do
So,
have to trade
yeah.
someone, you're trading Mitch Marner. Sorry,
100%.
But I think that it would be better, and I don't want this. It would be better if they were able to hang on to these guys and they were able to grow together as Kyle Dubas expects them to be. And it would be great if they could mature together and start to perform. But the thing that bothers me with this streakiness is that this team is capable of more. We know that they don't have to be this streaky. We know that. And that's the part that frustrates the hell out of me, is that I know it's not. It's probably mental maturity, yes, for sure. But we know they've exhibited at an NHL level before that they don't need to play like this.
Now, so let me ask you guys something, because this goes back to something I was previously saying. They scored 3 goals in California. Mm-hmm. Who scored?
Austin, Willie, Mitch.
Those are the 3. So the 3 guys that we're chewing out.
We're not chewing them out.
No, I know. But Sheldon Keefe wants more out of the bottom 6, and I guess middle 6. The Leafs were getting so much of that. They were getting so much depth scoring, and it's frigging
Well, because Johnson and
disappeared.
McKayev are gone.
Yeah.
Those guys were both on track
Man,
for
there's-
40, 50 points.
That's still a great bottom 6. Like he screwed his head back on and he put Kerfoot at center, which strengthens the bottom 6. Engvall is there. Kapanen is there. Clifford is a bull in a china
Love
shop.
him. Love him.
Gautier's been playing better recently. Spezza is, fallen off offensively a bit, but like for crying out loud, it's 36-year-old Jason Spezza.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know the season he's been having, but you did not sign him to relying on you money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you signed him to, you can play in the lineup money.
So if we get more out of the bottom 6, those games were all so tight. I know the San Jose one ended 5-2, but empty netter and the game got away from them off a shitty bounce. If they get any kind of production out of their bottom 6, there's no reason to believe they'd get any less than 4 points out of 6. So is it as simple as the Stars are actually showing up and they just need more out of guys. Like, I think back to Washington when they won the Cup. Ovechkin wins the Conn Smythe. Kuznetsov hits another level. Backstrom is Backstrom. Karlsson is Karlsson. Holtby ends up being Holtby.
But he wasn't going in. Grubauer was the guy that was holding them together.
But who scored half his playoff goals in the Stanley Cup final? Devontae Smith-Pelly. And I think it was Brett Connolly had another unreal Stanley Cup final. And Tom
And
Wilson
Jay Beagle,
Jay Beagle.
who got a big fat contract after that final.
And Tom Wilson was great throughout those playoffs, which that's what got him the contract, and he's continued to earn it. Like, you need the whole damn team to show up, and maybe that's the Leafs' issue, is teams in the NHL are good enough that you only have one line, or even two, they can shut you down. Because they don't have to worry about the other two.
Right.
They don't even have to worry about the other two lines. So, and what probably aided, I bet, their bottom six was having defensemen who can move the puck and blast it. Jake Muzzin, we've joked about, is a fourth forward whenever he wants to be. And so is Riley. And Barry doesn't even have the option to pinch with who he's playing with right now.
He doesn't.
He's either playing with the 19-year-old or Martin Marincin. So what if things, because of all the reasons I just mentioned, aren't actually that bad? I know this is a really weird angle for me to take. I'm sure I'm catching a lot of people off guard here. But what if the sky's not falling?
I can't wait for you to set yourself up for more disappointment. I'm
Do you
watching it
think
unfold right now.
They stand a chance in the first round.
It's the NHL, yes.
Oh yeah, they stand a chance, but they're not going to win. Like, I'm sorry, you can't tell me right now.
There's no one.
You cannot tell me
There's
right
no one
now.
I'm putting money down right now. There's not a single team in the Eastern Conference. I would put money down right now and saying the Leafs would beat them.
Right.
The argument
I don't know if the Leafs would win a 7-game series against the Rangers.
The argument that
fair.
it's sports and anything can happen isn't an argument.
No.
You can put that towards
that's a false
anything.
flag.
I know. Now,
That's not.
That's not
confidence in a
That's
team.
like going, well, it's NASCAR. Any car can win.
I know. Adam.
No, the two cars at the front probably have a better shot than the four guys 40 rows back, right?
I think Adam and I agree on what reality is. I think we agree on what reality is with this team. We're just choosing to look at it differently.
I don't
You're
think
probably
that.
You're probably more right.
What is happening?
That was passive aggressive.
No, it wasn't. No.
I don't think you
I
guys.
am calling you the realist. I'm calling myself the sweet summer
But
child.
here's
fool.
the thing: I got to pick you up off the floor when you're inevitably disappointed again.
You know your role in this relationship,
Right,
Adam.
Jesse?
Wild.
Am I right?
I don't. What is your logic?
I'm
a little confused.
My logic is they have more to give, and they will give it.
Okay, so you don't agree with Adam at all.
No. We're agreeing with how they're playing, what their performances
Yes,
are.
I think we're all
Adam-
looking at these games and we're seeing what's happening.
Yeah, the disagreement is Adam says this is just what they are flatly, and I am saying they can ascend. I think.
No,
The frustration is they
you're
can.
saying-
and they're
Yeah.
not. That's the frustration.
You saying
but
they
you're
can
saying they
ascend
won't,
can't
and
be
I'm
untrue.
saying they will.
Okay.
You saying they can ascend that's just how it works. You know, that's not
Steve, I can ascend to the NBA.
right.
I can.
Probably
won't,
There
though.
is
But even like
for
a
example,
realistic scenario, you can say I can ascend. Say you run a mile in 5 minutes. You can be
Right.
like, I can ascend to 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Like yes, you can ascend to that, and if you work hard and you do it and you get there, then you did. But
I
saying
like video games too
that
much,
can
man.
happen doesn't mean that it's going to happen.
But, like, there's
so
no-
you believe that it's going to happen in these next 3 weeks.
yes.
You believe that they're going to reach a new level in the next.
You think
3
they're
weeks.
gonna hit a new gear?
That's a completely different argument.
I believe they can.
Will they?
Yes.
And I'm saying,
yes.
I'm saying the team that you see before you,
Okay.
even with Morgan Riley healthy and Jake Muzzin back in the lineup, is the team that they are.
I'm saying I'm in. People have been asking
All
me
right.
for a long time
There
now.
you go, in.
I am in. I am
Listen,
in.
let me just throw this out there. I want to be. I don't want to think this way, but I'm a big believer in when people and when things show you what they are, believe them. And I believe them. I believe you, Leafs. I believe you.
I've just hit this weird spot where I'm screaming for more out of these guys who, like, some of them are barely older than I was when I graduated university. And I'm starting to
Them's
feel...
the breaks, baby.
I know them's the breaks, but
Are you
I'm starting to
feeling
feel
bad?
stupid. If anything, it's... No, I don't feel bad for them, but it's...
Are you said you're starting to feel stupid now?
For this
They
reason.
lost to
For
a
this
damn
reason.
Goalie driver.
For
We're
this
all
reason.
stupid.
Oh, yeah.
We chose this.
I know. Why would we cheer for them? We could have cheered for anybody else or any other sport.
All right.
This management group has one of the best young cores in the sport.
Sure.
They've chosen to invest in it. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that's going to make them better is time. And maybe them's the breaks.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to see them surprise me. Does this not strike you as a Leafy thing? That they would lose to a Zamboni driver and look like garbage heading
And
into
then
the
go all the way to
playoffs,
the third round?
And then
Sure.
go to... Yeah!
Sure.
Doesn't that strike you as the Leafiest thing ever?
Don't think that I haven't thought that in my positioning on this show, because I know that I'm taking a risk. And the one thing I don't want to get lumped into is there are pundits in this market that they default to negative because it's easy.
Yeah.
If you default to negative, you basically can't lose, because most of the time in any sport, on any team, most of the time, unless you're the New England Patriots, you lose.
Yeah. And when you take a negative stance in sports too, you're going to get the most reaction.
Yep.
And then if the team outperforms it, it doesn't matter because the fans are happy.
Exactly.
So it's
and then you
the
and then you
fans
get to
will
write the
dunk on
article
you,
like,
though.
Right.
They'll go,
they
"You-
surprised us all, and we're all
Right.
thrilled about it.
and then you're like, but they changed and they played different and now they're on top. You
Right.
know? It's such a terrible take to stick negative.
I'm trying to stay away from
It's
that.
lazy.
But I
Yeah,
am
it's
trying
lazy.
to look at this objectively as what have we seen so far? In years past, I'm all the way in on them. And this year, more than most years, the expectations are higher, the results have been even lower. And I just can't. I know that there are people out of the lineup. I know that there are big pieces. But worse teams have done better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I go back to, and this is going too far back now, but the Leafs team, I can't remember what year it was. I want to say 2002. The year where they lost 7 of 8 to Ottawa and then played them in the first round.
And beat them.
I believe they swept them. It's the Leafiest thing of all time.
Yep.
And nothing was expected of that team, and I want to say they made it to the conference final that year. I'm not totally sure.
I think that was the Carolina conference year.
Right? And there was no reason to believe in that team heading into the playoffs. And then they got me thinking, I remember, they're going to play Carolina.
Oh,
And they just won 2 rounds without Matt Sundin. Holy shit, this team might win the cup.
Nope.
Now, thank goodness they didn't make the final that year. Detroit would have murdered them. But, it comes out of nowhere sometimes.
But you shouldn't be banking on out of nowhere.
Yeah.
The team so far
I
in
shouldn't say out of
69
nowhere.
games.
I shouldn't say out of nowhere.
In
That's not
69
fair.
games, they haven't proven anything. They're an 8 seed.
I'm going to the bathroom. You guys continue this.
Can I put it on? I have a funny feeling. It's based on watching.
If that's the stance you want to take, then I'm not going to argue that.
I hope
'cause-
you're right.
Yes,
want you to win.
we're all hoping that crazy thing that might happen might happen. We're all banking on, hey, maybe they just get lucky, and then all of a sudden they start playing, but they haven't shown that that's going to happen. So we can't sit here and be like we think luck's going to happen.
I'm seeing a lot of things I like. I'm just not seeing them put together all at once. And that's what champions do.
right.
Is they're able to take it all at the same time, which the Leafs just haven't been able to do. But I'm watching them do things where I'm like, this is a step in the right direction. The struggle has been getting them all to do it on the same night.
Now, is it fair, which I think is Adam's stance? I'm not going to believe in them until we see that moment where it's all put together.
That's totally fair.
Okay.
I just feel like the playoffs are stupid, and sometimes it comes together game 1.
Sure.
But they got to make it to game 1.
Yeah, they got to make it to game 1, and then you have to hope the magic thing happens.
Yeah.
You know?
They're not a team like Tampa will not be caught off guard in the playoffs this year. They know what happened last year. And they're a veteran team, and I know a lot of those guys are kind of looking at their driver's license going, oh shit, like I'm about to be on the wrong side of 30, like, and this team's really good. How many more kicks at the can am I going to have? The Leafs, at their age, have got to be looking at absolutely every team they play and going, they're the favorite. Like I just got here in this league, no matter what amount of money I'm making.
Maybe they should believe in themselves.
No, but then they have 2 months off just sleeping heading into the playoffs. This year, battling, I think, is a great thing for them.
So when do they start battling?
They battled the last 3 games. They just lost. They did.
Okay.
They did.
Okay. All right. I'm not doubting you. I am choosing to hope with you.
Yeah.
Now this is me being nice to them. You want me to be mean to them?
Sure. Not mean. No, not needlessly.
No. Well, I'm a big meanie.
Okay. Why are you a big meanie?
Because the Toronto thing from yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So this comes from. Is it The Athletic?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So there's an article. You can always tell the font from The Athletic. There's an article that basically said player X, who doesn't want to be named, put Toronto on his no trade list because the media. Again, it's the same narrative about the media scrutiny.
Yep, they write about when you miss a pass in practice. Have you ever heard of that ever once?
No, I think you don't need to be literal about that. What the player
sure.
is saying is I don't want to be there because the media scrutiny is too much. And my stance on that has always been good. Don't play here.
100%.
You need guys, and the one thing I'll say about Cappy, Nylander, Matthews, Marner, not less so about Tavares. Tavares is not this type of personality.
Can you bring up the tweets that I put? Thank you.
I got them in
thank
front
you,
of me
thank you.
whenever you're ready.
Sure.
You need players here who want to be stars and want to be in the spotlight. And I can say that about Cappy, I can say that about Nylander, I could say that about Matthews, and I can say that about Marner. None of them mind it, right? When those guys have personalities and they're brash and they're young, and I think they're where the NHL is going. There's a lot of guys in other teams that I'm not naming that are just the same.
Totally.
The old hockey thing about guys don't want to play here because they are because the media scrutiny is too much. No, I think the real reason here is the Leafs haven't won. If the Leafs were in this media heavy market, which we are, and we're perennial winners, if the Leafs had the New England Patriots amount of championships in the last 20 years, that's not even a conversation.
And what I was saying on the way in, what little market do you go to hide in the NFL?
Oh, you can hide.
San Diego.
Yeah. You can hide in
the Leafs draw more fans than the San Diego Chargers.
Easily.
And
the Los Angeles Sorry, it's not even San Diego anymore.
Well, there you go.
The LA Chargers. Yeah.
They went to a bigger city.
And I mean, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers haven't been good for years. Yeah. There's lots of teams that just don't make the playoffs. Jacksonville had like one flash in the pan, and they're not great.
And star players flock there for a quiet life, right?
No.
They
go to the big.
Yes.
They want to be on the big stage.
NBA, same thing.
Yeah.
I got to tell you,
you got to draft a guy like Giannis.
Yeah, in the NBA.
You're not getting him as a free agent.
Well, and they may not keep him, right? That's the thing. So, and what's interesting about that in hockey is that if I'm a general manager and I find out my player doesn't want to be under the most pressure in the biggest spotlight, I'm a little concerned about that player. The guys that I want are the people that are the most competitive. And that's not to say that players in a smaller market will use Florida, will use Arizona. Doesn't mean they're not competitive. What I'm trying to say is I want somebody who wants to be on the biggest stage because I want somebody who wants to perform for the Stanley Cup.
A lot of NHL teams will intentionally antagonize you at the draft combine to see how you respond. And you might go, well, it's a bunch of adults picking on a 17 or 18-year-old. And it is.
Life's hard, man.
That's what it's going to be.
Life's hard.
And if they draft you and you're Swedish, you could be playing against grown men a few months from now.
Who are going to antagonize you.
Right.
They are going to say things that you did not know were in the English language at you.
That you're just learning.
Can I give some context to the quote that went viral on Twitter? Because there's a little bit of misinformation there.
Okay.
Fake news?
It's from an article in The Athletic.
And I did something that I hate doing, which is responding to a blurb.
Yes. So Craig Custance
shame on me
polled 22 NHL agents. And he asked them, one of the final questions he asked them was, which two teams are most likely to land on a client's no-trade clause? And then he lists the numbers. Number 1 was Winnipeg. Number 2 was Ottawa. Number 3 was Edmonton. Number 4 was Buffalo.
Weather, owner, weather.
Number 5 was Columbus.
What was 4? Sorry.
4 is Buffalo.
Weather, owner, weather, city. What was 5?
Columbus.
I'm not sure I actually.
And
like
when
Columbus.
we get to Columbus, only 2 people voted for. Only said Columbus. Toronto landed on the list at the very bottom with 1.
With 1.
So the quote that goes
So I'm
around
talking about one guy.
makes it look like, oh, Toronto's least likely or most likely to have a no trade clause on it. When in reality,
one guy.
it's the last place in the poll, and the top ones are all small, cold weather places.
If I could do it all over, I just wouldn't have said anything.
Right.
But I would still believe what I'm saying. So now that I've said it,
What did you say?
Let's go
Let's get
into
into what you
so
said.
the quote from
Here, you want me to read it? I'll say it in my voice.
Hold on.
that?
Hold on.
Yeah,
so
sure,
the
sure,
quote
sure.
from the one agent who said Toronto's most likely is Toronto. The impression is you can't miss a pass in practice without being questioned about it afterwards. So this doesn't even come from a player. This is an anonymous agent who was polled, and he was the only one who said Toronto, and he's the one who said this quote.
This is why you don't do what I did, kids, which is respond to a blurb.
So Steve saw this one quote.
And
he
I was just
said-
in a bad mood in general and just thought, I'm going to take this out on 145,000 people.
So you
like
can
an
read
idiot.
it in your own voice.
Can I issue an apology to Jacqueline Taylor, whose mentions I'm sure I just bombed by friggin' quote tweeting you because you had the blurb there. So I said, Toronto, where the fourth line right winger, being Frederic Gauthier, is in a national ad campaign and statues are built for guys who never even won a championship, is hard to play in. Next tweet. Ilya Mikheyev was a Leaf for literally 45 seconds, scored 1 goal, said, I like soup into a microphone, and got a soup sponsorship. Sometimes I wonder how hard some NHL players would buckle in any other major sports league. Sorry people watch you play. What people are missing here, I think, is there's good and bad. There are bad things about playing in Toronto. Absolutely. But so many guys here are embraced immediately and beloved forever for accomplishing practically nothing. It's a big market. There's good, there's bad. So one thing I saw was, well, what do you mean? There's something about resentment with accomplishing actually nothing? Yeah. What do you mean? Like, what do they play the games for? I'm sorry. You play to win.
But
Isn't that it?
My question.
You play to win. You try to score more goals than the other team. Goals, wins, championships. Those are all accomplishments. What are you talking about?
But Steve,
If in absence of them, what am I supposed to do? Be happy?
who said they didn't want to play here?
Who? One agent.
Thank you.
Yes. No, but I didn't know that. Oh, Jesse, we've established I was wrong to go down this path.
Who said they didn't want to play in Toronto?
One agent.
Thank you.
Yes.
Now-
No, I know that now. I know that now. But then what? So here's what it is.
An agent
From
anonymously
those tweets, from those
in an
tweets,
article.
from those tweets, my mentions and now this podcast.
Is it fair and
We're
Derek's?
all arguing over one potentially fictional person. But a lot of people got mad, so let's
Sure.
talk about it.
All right, yes.
Let's talk about it
Yes.
then.
Okay.
What do I mean by players would buckle in any other sports league? In any other sports league, stardom is embraced. NBA players are stars. They go to cities, big cities, to win championships, cities with big fan bases, where they get tons of scrutiny. LeBron James retiring to a quiet life in Los Angeles. Like, are you joking? Kawhi Leonard went to LA. I know he's from there, but the guy seems quiet and like he wants to be left alone. So he went to LA. And the reason he went to LA, I might as well be at home because there's nowhere to hide in the NBA. There's nowhere to hide in the NFL. In the NHL, you can go to a city
And hide.
where next to nobody gives a shit about who you are. That is the fact, because the NHL is not nearly as popular as those places. But you don't want to be a star for the New York Rangers? Like, forget the Leafs. You don't want to be a star for the Montreal Canadiens?
Boston Bruins?
Boston Bruins?
Dude, I'd
And-
want to be
and
a
I've
star for
said
the
it
Boston
1,000
Bruins. It'd be
times.
amazing.
Bruins love being Bruins. But the great thing about the Canucks, Oilers, Flames, any Canadian team, Bruins, Rangers, Flyers, is that their fans are happy when you lose? Stop it! Like, Toronto's unique in that category. Well, Leaf fans did. What about the April Reimer thing? And what about this? And what about that? Are we really going to do this? Are we going to play this game?
Every fan.
We're going to play this game. I'm not going to insult other fan bases by going down that path. Because if you want, we can go through every fan base. Has shitheads. Toronto is going to have more examples because there's more of us. We're the most well-traveled fan base in the sport. In the sport. Bar none. Montreal 24, not even close. Nobody's even close. Of course there are going to be more examples.
Ask EPL fans if they like Manchester United fans.
Probably not.
Ask any fan of any other team if they like Manchester United fans. Ask any fan of any team if they like Real Madrid fans that are not Real Madrid people.
Yeah.
Ask if in Italian league if Juventus or Inter Milan fans are well liked. The point is that every fan group
it's the Death Star.
And every sport, it's the Death Star. They're again, Leaf fans, you're the big evil empire. Mm-hmm. You are the stormtroopers, man. You are Darth Vader. That's what you are.
But we're only focusing on, and this is what I don't like this player, now that I know it's one player, but this one player agent.
It's not a player.
This one player agent's attitude. Well, no. A player clearly said this to the agent. No agent is saying to avoid Toronto. Toronto makes agents money.
He didn't say that a player said this to him. He said the perception is. He made up
from a player. What, did he just make it up?
He did.
Yeah, you know what?
It's probably based on a conversation.
Can I throw this out there?
It's probably based on a conversation.
This is getting under Steve's skin for a couple of reasons. One of the things when the Leafs could not sign players, and this is not your fault, by the way. This is something that we all grew up with.
Nor has anything ever been. I'm glad that I've had 24 hours to think about my tweets and how right they are.
The Leafs used to be able to buy teams. Mm-hmm. And when the salary cap was instituted, they all of a sudden couldn't. And Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment didn't understand the concept for about 12 years. Hang on.
They emptied their wallets right when the cap was implemented.
Right.
It literally screwed them for a decade.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, no.
Well, and then they continued
mismanagement screwed them for a decade. It should have screwed them for a year.
They started on the wrong foot, and then they
continually did bad
grew
stuff.
5 feet and went on the wrong one.
And they should have had a potato in charge instead of their GM.
100%, and they would have done better.
Yes.
That was fun.
Now, beyond that, there was, for years, players, massive players, big name guys who would come up, a local Toronto kid, maybe he'll come to Toronto. He spent the whole year speculating. You know, Brad Richards comes to mind. Steven Stamkos was one, but that's a little bit of a different situation. But all these guys, Brad Richards especially, and every single time, and this is so funny because at the time there were people who went on television here, and I don't think it happened in the States because no one pays attention this closely in the States unless you have NBC, whatever.
It's behind volleyball.
Yeah, no one cares.
No one cares. And people got mad at that. Oh, you care. That's fine. So do I. Most people don't. Most people do not care about hockey.
Okay, got it.
All right.
There it is.
People, and I remember this, said straight-faced into a camera that the reason that Brad Richards did not want to sign here was because the media scrutiny was too hardcore.
And he went to New York! Manhattan!
I think he just wanted to live in New York, man. Like,
and they gave him $8.5 million per year!
And it was a bad contract.
And
it turned out to be a bad deal.
Horrible contract.
Yeah, but the Leafs were bad too.
Yeah. Why would he have wanted to come here?
Why would Stamkos have agreed to join the last place league?
Right. It would have been Brad Richards and Tim Brent, and Steven Stamkos could not have known. And also, he had a great thing going in Florida. Tampa's an amazing place to live. Like, why would you leave?
It's kind of funny how when the team got good and then they had great management, they signed the biggest free agent in NHL history.
Crazy how that happens, right?
Funny. Maybe it had nothing to do with the market at all.
Yeah. But they signed a superstar who loves the spotlight, John Tavares.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just hated listen. So you keep going to who said this. It was an agent. At the time, I thought this player was real.
Yes.
And so did everyone else by the sounds of it.
Yeah, and it's also, I can't hammer this point enough. Toronto was last on the list.
Yes.
Of teams that were mentioned.
Which is hilarious.
Yes.
And this is why you
Yeah, screw you, Boston.
is
We
why-
finally got one over on you.
don't do what I did.
You do your research.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
Listen, I went on Twitter today on my desktop. I deleted it from my phone.
Did you?
Sometimes I need to. We go through this every few months. I have to delete it off my phone because I get crazy. That's fine.
Fair.
But at the time, okay, so I went at this potentially fictional person, but then everyone started to defend this potentially
Yes.
fictional person.
And in Toronto,
it's a loser attitude.
It hasn't been helped by the other Toronto sports. Like Toronto's seen Vince Carter leave, they've seen Chris Bosh leave. So is this perception throughout the mid 2000s that nobody wants to come to Toronto, and the Jays couldn't sign anyone.
American NBA players and American baseball players did not want to come to Canada.
The reason they didn't
It
want
was-
to come
but
to
that's-
Canada
it's
was
a different
because they were
country.
poorly run teams. Guys,
They
do you know?
sucked.
Hold on. Let me talk here. Let me say this.
Garbage.
Let me say this for a second. Do you know that
It's cold.
in the early 90s, the Jays had the biggest payroll in all of baseball? Do you
Yep.
know that?
I believe it.
In 1991 and 1992 and 1993, it was like $45 million. That's a lot of money back then. Now, hang on. When they got off the plane to come to Toronto, trade or free agent, do you know what used to happen? The Jays would hand them the keys to a brand new Honda Civic. Every single player that came in. Every brand new player, they would just hand them just give them a car.
Give them a car.
They wanted to be here. The thing is that players do not sign up for teams that are shitty. They do
Right.
not want to go to teams that
It's
suck.
And
flat
here's
out.
how-
Hang
here's how-
on. I got to say this.
I just one little blip.
Okay.
One little blip. The Jays, it was $45 million.
Yeah.
That's what the cap was when it was implemented in 2005.
Oh, I agree.
And we're
Yeah.
talking about the early 90s Jays.
Yes,
baseball.
because baseball makes a lot more money and has more games and
Because
everything.
people give more of a shit.
Well, less so now. But
Less so now.
But the baseball will always outrate hockey in the States until I guess the older guys die off. But the point I'm trying to make and what I was trying to say earlier with Brad Richards as the example is there was a media, and I know this, it was a media-driven narrative at a time where there really was no social media about playing in Toronto and how harsh the spotlight is. And that was driven by members of the media. And it goes back to something that we've talked about a couple years ago. And this is something we're all guilty of becoming a little too self-important. And what happened was, it was sort of like, it was sort
What's
of...
the name of the show?
They sort of said it... No, that's fine. They sort of said it as like we're just too damn tough on them. It was sort of like they look at the camera and go,
So the Toronto media thing is a Toronto media
because the
thing.
Toronto
Right,
media
right.
love, don't kid yourself, love to know that I played a factor here. I'm at
Yep.
it. It's self-importance, man. And it's something we heard all the way growing up.
Now, is
And-
it also, though, because people go, well, the hot dog thing. And I'm like,
That's one guy.
that's a Steve Simmons article in
Yeah.
the Toronto Sun. I wish you
which is
understood.
patient zero.
What it- yes.
Like, that's the guy.
Yeah.
Like,
Him and
whole-
Festchek, and there's names that you can put out there.
No, literally one guy, patient zero, Toronto. That's what everyone's saying.
But yeah, that's what people do with it's like the April Weimer
Yeah, it's
Ramos
wrong,
restriction.
right?
Yeah.
It's wrong to
Are
do
you
that,
fired up?
right?
Yes.
I'm just overcome with how right I am in
Well,
this situation.
I think, Steve.
God, it's
it
so
was
good.
the reason that you went off on it is because you've heard it so much and it's such a load
and
of
it's
crap.
nonsense.
It's crap.
Yeah.
It's crap.
And
It's-
potentially literally made up.
It's never been true. Like,
No.
it's literally
No,
been
if-
a media-driven narrative by the media about the media.
Yeah. No, the reason players didn't want to come here is the team flipping sucks.
Exactly.
Teams don't want to go to
that
Montreal
simple.
because of the scrutiny. Or the taxes are bonkers and the team hasn't made the playoffs in 2 years, potentially 3.
Right.
Yeah, the taxes are a major factor in Quebec.
If you're the
major.
best team in the league, who cares where you are?
You ask most people in hockey media, they will tell you Vancouver is actually probably the worst one.
Yeah, I've heard that many
And
times.
every summer, they can't give away enough money in free agency. They cannot give it away fast enough.
Well, they're going to have trouble this year because they don't have any left to spend.
Well, that's because of the cap. If there wasn't any, they'd give away more. People still go there.
The best thing that's happened to Jim Benning is he's already spent all of his money, so he can't sign another bad contract. It's great. It's great for Vancouver.
There are, and this isn't, I've been bullish on the Canucks all year. I think they're better than people give them credit
They
for.
are.
Especially
They
with
are.
Markstrom
They are.
in the
Oh,
lineup. Especially with Markstrom in the lineup. But that, like, Jim Benning is a great example of why the salary cap is there.
Because GMs are stupid.
And you might go, well, the Leafs and Kyle Dubé. Yeah, the Leafs too. The Leafs too. Like the salary cap is there so that the Leafs can't spend like $40 million more than the Jets or something like that. Or the Jets weren't even around when the cap was implemented.
It would be more than that.
It would be way
The
more
Leafs would
than
be
that.
100, 150 million at this point.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
kid
The
yourself.
salary cap, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but I believe the salary cap, the actual cap, the ceiling of it, is still not at where the Leafs were spending in 2004, the last year
they
where
had
there
an
wasn't one.
$88 million team, I believe, that year.
I think you're right, or 90, or it was
Something like
And
that.
there were three. I want to say the top four teams in terms of spending were the Leafs, Canucks, Rangers, and Flyers.
Yeah.
And they were all like somewhere in the and Detroit was probably in there too. They were all somewhere in the 70s and 80s. And we just got back to that now. It took 15 years.
Well, to give you an example, too, Gretzky was making about as much money in 1993 as Leon Draisaitl makes now. Matt Sundin was making
shit.
the same amount as Leon Draisaitl makes now in 2001 when he signed his extension with the Leafs.
Didn't Joe Sakic make like $15 million?
Forsberg did. I don't know about Sakic, but I think
wild.
Forsberg did. Yeah.
It was wild.
But that's
So
what
anyway,
happened.
we're getting into a completely
The
different
key is,
conversation.
like, let's just drop that. That
People
was just
want to
sort of-
come to Toronto when they're good.
Yeah.
And if you can play 3 years here and be like a decent player, you're set for the rest of your
You're
life.
set forever.
Sign
You're going to be
autographs
at
forever.
every charity tournament. You're going to have a little commercial here and again, and you're good.
Hey,
Who wouldn't want to do that?
Connor Brown, at the end of his let's say he plays till he's 40 years old, which
Yeah.
he might. Connor Brown, at the end of his career,
And he plays for the Panthers for the rest of it. you
plays
know?
for the he
And
can
nobody ever
play
hears from him.
somewhere in complete wherever
Yeah.
for the rest of his career. But you know what? He was a Leaf for 3
Connor Brown's good.
And
here.
scored a big goal.
and
He's
scored
good.
a enormous goal. And if he wanted to, signings, everything for the rest of his life. It's just the idea that we now know is potentially baloney, but a lot of people do believe that is a thing.
Yeah.
It takes no account for all the fucking amazing shit that comes with being a Leaf. Amazing shit that comes with being
Things
Do
you can't get anywhere else.
Yes. And do you take shit sometimes? Of course you do. Of course you do. If you go to a market where no one gives you any shit ever, you're in a garbage market for sports.
Tree falls in the woods.
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is. Oh, well, you're saying that, like, death threat? No, stupid. I'm not.
I think you are.
No, stupid.
I think
like,
you are, Steph.
No.
I think
Like-
Steve is encouraging
Yeah.
death threats.
Yeah.
I think Twitter is right.
So what you're saying is Babcock was right to do what he did to Marner.
Nobody said that.
What cereal box maze did you complete to get there?
Who tweeted you that?
I don't know.
Did someone actually come
Yes.
close to that?
Like, and
Somebody
I don't have a problem with them. Like, but like, what cereal box crazy maze,
Yeah.
snakes and ladders, did you take to get there?
Their
What are
takes
you
are-
talking about? And
Takes
sorry,
are garbage.
And I teased this at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
You know, what about all the shit that William Nylander takes? What about all the garbage that William Nylander takes in this market? First of all, I think that is now out of date. There are far more people
He
who
is beloved.
He is beloved. Leaf fans
we have a huge stan community. It's going.
Yes.
It's going very strong.
Now, part of
You
the
are
reason
you are leading that charge.
I
my
am,
friend.
and I'm very
Absolutely. But part of the reason is they had to fight against the criticism of him.
right.
But we're also pretending like the criticism when he scored 7 goals wasn't valid. Like, come on. But you know who doesn't mind? You know who doesn't seem to mind at all the shit that people still say about him, despite the fact that he scored 30 goals this year? William frigging Nylander.
That's why he should be playing here. He's the type,
Yeah.
he's the right personality.
Doesn't give a shit.
He smiles, scores goals, and loves it. Win or lose.
He's one of the only blonde beards I've ever seen that looks really good. It's hard to pull off a blonde beard.
Underrated Joey Crab back in the day. I wonder why no one wanted to sign to play with Joey Crab. I don't know.
And as a-
Top line right winger Joey Crab. That was a thing.
As a fan, that's what you want, right? Because you think if you were in that position, if you were playing the NHL, you'd be like, I'm living
in the
freaking dream.
NHL.
I'm playing for this Toronto Maple Leafs team is the biggest hockey team in the universe, and I get to score goals and play hockey.
And his dad played in the
And I
NHL. Like, he's
Right.
exactly the sort of guy who could take it for granted and does not.
No.
He does not. He understands. William Nylander, I'm saying this into an actual microphone, is perfect for Toronto. He's perfect for the market. does not flinch at a thing, does not care what people say about him. He smiles, puts his hair in a ponytail, grabs his coffee, shows up to the rink, scores a goal.
Nice
Scores
tailored
two
suits,
sometimes.
too. Nice tailored suits.
Yeah.
Right?
They all the Leafs got pretty nice suits.
Yeah,
They got enough money. To
That's
get
one
those
thing
suits.
Don Cherry
Some
got away
sort
from.
of shade of purple.
was the suit shout-outs that he used to do.
Yeah.
And it was always, well, whenever he did it, was like, oh, it's Brad Marchand. I'm like, all the Leafs show up and they throw it up on Instagram
Right.
and they look amazing. Oh, it's Brad Marchand with his vest.
Here's Auston Matthews walking in with his purple suit and his Darkwing Duck hat. And he does wear a Darkwing Duck
He
hat
does.
every show
Sure.
or every walk-in. None of the Leafs. I would say, like, listen, some of it goes to a place where it shouldn't. Okay? But stop acting like it's unique to Toronto. Well, with this example, there are more.
Yeah, pay attention to literally any other sport.
Remember
There's more
Edmonton in the
intense.
last 2 years?
Yeah.
Yes.
Dude, Edmonton's they're still eating each other alive.
Ben Scrivens picked up a jersey that was thrown onto the ice and threw it back at the fan who threw it there. It was legendary. It was so good. We can't think of too many vicious instances with Florida Panthers fans. I wonder why.
Well,
And this
did you
isn't
see this?
insulting. Now there are Florida Panthers fans who are going to take that the wrong way. I'm not talking about you.
Oh my God.
If you give a shit, it's
Great.
not about you.
Your face is getting so red. It's
I would also like
Because
to
I feel
throw
like
out there.
I shouldn't have to explain this. It's
Yeah, you should.
unbelievable.
Yeah, you should. You're expecting a bunch of people to just know.
I need to
You have
channel
10
my
years of
William
experience
Neal-
with this, man.
I need
Yeah.
to channel my William Nylander and not give a shit.
No.
No, but
well,
there's
yeah.
a reason you got all this response. Is because people don't understand.
Yeah.
And
it
it's
was about the
embarrassing.
Leafs.
And that's human.
Yeah.
That's human to not understand and have a. There's lots of people out there who have ignorant viewpoints. That's okay. That's sort of part of being a human. I'm one of them. From time to time,
I'm so
I
glad
comment
I
on
have
shit
none.
that I'm like, maybe I should have found out more about that. And I'll get a DM from somebody who politely says, hey, Adam, just a heads up. And I'll be like,
And I
oh,
appreciate
I
those.
learned I
I get
appreciate
them
those.
all the
And then
time.
I hear, hey, fucker. Your mom must be
irredeemable piece of
embarrassed.
shit.
Yeah.
Who has not learned and will never learn.
Actually, I don't mind getting hey fucker because that's at least funny. But
Right.
but if it's like hey, you're a piece of shit and I hope your daughter hates you, which people have come close to, it's sort of like, whoa, all right, let's.
Here's a bunch of words that I'm super stoked on because I took an elective last semester. Shut up.
Adam, what's your
Shut
opinion
up.
on the Ottoman
Sorry.
Empire? Which
My
side were
opinion
you
on the
on?
Ottoman-
Was it correct? Was it always correct, or did you voice your opinion and then somebody had to change it for you?
The opinion on the Ottoman Empire is that it
God, you're weird.
Like most empires, had a really great start and fired up and came tribal people from the steppe and from these Turk come in and they conquer and they fight a completely different way. The Byzantines are not ready for them, but by the 19th century, their form of government, their lack of control on their own lands, and frankly, corruption completely frayed what was left, although they did put up a bigger fight in World War I than any world power expected that they could. However, that didn't stop them from
Did
falling.
you think people wanted to join the Ottoman Empire?
No.
Or did they? Oh, okay.
I think that they were all definitely
Was-
brought under the Ottoman thing against their will.
Well, so
There wasn't
That
too
is-
much
that's
scrutiny within
historically
the-
correct.
Okay.
Nobody was like, please sign me up for this.
So they started pretty strong, never quite achieved their goal, and then fell off?
They achieved some things.
They were the biggest empire on earth for a while.
Damn, I was trying to make a San Jose Sharks analogy.
Well, yeah,
Didn't work.
They sort of were because they really wanted to take Vienna, and they were that close. And then the Austrians stood their ground.
Is that a thing?
That is a thing. They were.
Wow.
They were very. People were freaked right out about them. They were one of the first.
How do you know this shit?
'cause I
we
love
went to
this
the
stuff.
same high school. Like,
They were one of the first empires that used cannons,
wow.
and that's how they took what's now Istanbul.
This is like fairly recently too.
Well, 1400s
No,
is
it
when
was
they took
2,000
Istanbul.
years ago. I learned that from
Yeah, the
300.
Ottomans. Yeah, I mean,
Everyone
long-
rode rhinos into battle.
They
I learned that from 300.
they
and Michael
dissolved
Bay.
about 100 years ago.
I don't know, what was his name?
Well, who?
What?
Who did 300? Who's the director?
Oh, I don't know.
Not Michael Bay.
Guy Ritchie? I
Zack
don't know.
Snyder.
Zack Snyder?
There
Sure.
you go. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, the empire dissolved about 100 years ago. They lasted for about 500 years, which is pretty good empire.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Long
Yeah,
time.
they were their
America
empire.
existed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like there was I actually this is how deep down the rabbit hole I went. I'm like, okay, so America existed. So I actually went into this is really super nerdy, but I looked it up and
No,
it exists on
keep going.
Wikipedia.
Yeah.
A list of American ambassadors to the Ottoman Empire.
Oh.
And I actually started looking at the names of them and trying to figure out as much as I could, because what I was trying to figure out is if they had ambassadors there, what was the relationship between America and the Ottomans? And the only thing that I could really find on it was because Canada did most of their stuff through England at that point, so there's not a lot of, there are different sides of the world, so America was its own entity. America went to war against a Ottoman subsidiary, which are Barbary pirates. They were pirates that existed in the 1800s that were off the coast and went in and basically, because there was like an open harbor, and they basically like blew up a bunch of these guys that kept raiding American shipping. So it was like, I don't know, 1850s or something. So anyway, here's a random boring ass story that'll. Anyway, so that's how I spent one afternoon.
I'm gonna make it more boring.
What?
Is there ever an Ottoman Empire born NHL player?
A Turk? It'd be a Turkish player or someone from Palestine, someone from Israel, someone from Egypt. They were Turkey, Israel, Syria, Egypt, Palestine. I think they went all the way over to like Saudi Arabia, Oman, Jordan, like all of the Middle East.
I asked because, and some of the youngins might not know this, but I remember getting hockey cards of who I thought were Russian players. And for birthplace, it just said Soviet Union.
Oh.
But they weren't, right? Like, Evgeny Nabokov is Kazakhstani.
Right.
Which is Kazakhstan, not Russia, but it was part of the Soviet Union.
That's right.
And Dani Zubris, who I think is Lithuanian, wasn't part of Russia. Anyway, it'd just be cool to get like a 1917 hockey card of someone born in the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has. I don't know if there's been a Middle Eastern descent or even Balkan. Like, I don't even know if there's anybody in the...
Like,
how many Austrian players?
When it was called that.
Born when it was called that? No.
Yeah.
No.
There would be nobody. That area was after World War I thrown into complete disarray. So there would have been, not only would there have not been hockey arenas where it's 50 degrees Celsius during the day.
I just wish.
There's also a lot of war. So I don't think that would have happened. Anyway.
We're not talking, well, what about Nazem Kadri in Lebanon? No. I want a guy who on his birth certificate it says Ottoman Empire.
Let's move on.
Why?
It's not going to happen.
Panthers retire Roberto Luongo.
There's no more empire. Anyway.
Real quick. Panthers retire Roberto Luongo's jersey.
Yep.
Are the Canucks going to as well? And should they? Arguably, he had a bigger effect on the Canucks and they were far more successful than he was with the Panthers. Although, with the Panthers, he was one of their only stars.
He played 6 playoff games with the Florida Panthers.
So tell me this. I know that Vancouver's upset about the cap recapture, so they can't go spend it on someone else who's mediocre. But that's what Jim Benning does. I'm sorry. Where's the lie there? He buys
Google Maps and find it.
He buys mediocre players. That's what he buys. But tell me with Roberto Luongo, how come it hasn't happened yet? Doesn't make sense to me.
I think you got to give a little bit more time.
Do you?
He just retired.
Florida just did it.
This year's about the Sedins, I think, in Vancouver.
Oh, yeah,
you
of
give
course.
it. You
fair.
give it maybe next season after, and then you bring back Luongo.
All right.
It's a little more nostalgic.
The Canucks have to deal with the same sort of delicate dance that the Leafs do, whereas they have these genuinely great players, these Hall of Fame worthy players, who didn't win with them.
Yeah.
Right? Like
That's the other point.
The automatic to get your jersey up there, and there's no debate, no one even talks about it, is a championship.
Okay.
Well, sorry, you got to be that player and win a championship. They don't just hand it to everyone.
They were 4 goals away.
I know.
5 goals away.
But
I know.
It's not a win.
It's not a win.
Yeah.
Not a win. Okay, fair enough. Now,
But the Sedins deserve it, and Luongo deserves it in Vancouver as well.
there are a lot of reporters in this. I'm just moving on here because we spent a lot of time on stuff I did not expect to. The NHL is closing. Some teams have closed their dressing rooms to reporters because of the coronavirus fears. Now, not all teams are doing this yet, but Chris Johnson speculated yesterday on Headlines on Hockey Night in Canada that he thinks that most teams will move to this within the next 48 hours, which means 24 hours for us. And a lot of reporters are upset about this because the relationship that you develop, when you're a beat reporter for the team, is usually like once a year you might get that golden, amazing quote from somebody, or a couple times a year. Most of the time you're going to get boring stuff, and reporters will tell you that. Most of the time it's like, oh, pucks in deep, and whatever. Yeah. But every once in a while you get something amazing because this person trusts you. Honest question: once we get past the coronavirus wave,
Yes.
And by the way, I hope everybody stays safe out there.
Wash your friggin' hands.
Well, okay, yeah, duh. Wash your hands anyway.
Yeah, why wasn't everybody washing their hands?
But
It's like, it makes me so upset.
I remember there was a
best
time
time to
before
start-
when I used to wipe my butt and not wash my hands. It was
Fucking
great.
filthy ass people.
the best time to start washing your hands was 20 years ago. The second best time is now.
Yeah. So, do you think the NHL reopens the dressing rooms ever again if they close them?
Yes, because enough people are going to shit their pants. if
Because
they
in
don't.
soccer, what
Yeah.
they do is they have them one reporter in front of a podium with a bunch of sponsors in the back, which is what the NHL is going to do. They're going to bring players out to the podium, but it will be a press conference rather than like a scrum, which is everybody gathered around a guy. Press conferences, there's a distance so nobody can spread any germs.
Now, here's the interesting thing. I have some locker room reporting experience. Very little. Okay,
The Marlies.
Yes, Marlies and Leafs. I've done not post game but morning skate.
Okay.
So I gotten to do home dressing room and visiting dressing room, and I did a little for the Jays as well. So you know, I would err to people who I saw lots of people who do this for a living and they do it all the time. So I would respect their opinion on it way more than mine. I've always felt strange about it. Players, they hate it. They hate it. All of them in every sport, they hate it. They don't want you to come into their personal space. Like, there's a story in my book about A's pitcher Houston Street, and the Athletics had lost 7 or 8 straight games. They're up like 3 runs, and they blow it, and it was him. He blew it. And, like, we were all in a circle around this guy, like a dozen of us. And he's on the verge of tears, which is why we stopped the interview like 30, 45 seconds in. And then if that guy wants to go have a cry, because like he's about to have a breakdown, like an actual breakdown, and I, nothing against the guy, I get it, you're emotional. Where's he supposed to go? We're standing in his fucking locker.
The shower.
We're right in his face. There was a player on the Marlies who jokingly, and this was years and years ago, and it was all men. I will say this. All the reporters were men. He just burst through our semicircle of people butt naked. Just joking, going, woo, let's hit the shower, boys, woo. And like he was just having fun with it. Right? But he walked through it. A circle of people butt naked. You could see how that might have gone the wrong way. I've always viewed the locker room as their space. And I've gotten to go into the Marlies locker room, and I've also gotten to cover them in the playoffs where they bring out the wallpaper, one at a time.
Step and repeat. Yeah.
Step and repeat, and they also do the podium.
Yep.
And I've always thought that was better.
And why do you think that was better?
It's just neater. It's
Now,
just more neat.
Beat reporters will say, I can't develop a personal relationship with this player if I'm not in that dressing room.
Yeah, you can. It might be harder. And this is the thing, like, I haven't developed a ton of close relationships with professional athletes. They have, and they have to for their job. I get that. There are other ways to do it.
Yeah.
And if you ask for one-on-one time with a player, you won't always get a yes, but you'll get it. There was one time I had to wait like 40... I had a few questions for Sheldon Keefe when he was head coach of the Marlies. I had to wait like half an hour, 45 minutes to get it. I got it. Like, they were surprised. They walked out and they're like, you're still here? You'll get it. And it made my job harder because I had to wait that amount of time. You'll get it. So, but it goes back to, and this is the reason they're doing it, right? What did I say when Travis Dermott missed time because he was sick? And this was long before everyone started freaking out about the coronavirus.
What did you say?
Locker rooms are disgusting. Like, it's hockey teams are 20 disgusting boys and all the people who work for the team. And then, especially in Toronto, you're going to have like 15 reporters and how many camera people, and maybe they're bringing an intern with them that day, and maybe there's a couple players' kids there, and the 3 or 4 media people walking. There's like 40, 50 people in that room standing like this, and half of them are naked. It's a great place to be if you're a virus.
Now, apparently the nakedness is especially in NHL dressing rooms, apparently that's happening far or less. Like
Yeah,
from
it's
what other
calm
reporters I read, they're like they're already dressed by the time you get in.
Yes.
In some regard, but beyond the naked part, because forget
Jesus,
that.
if you're Joe Thornton, you're already out the door.
Yeah.
He one time when I was there for Leafs morning skate, I was there to talk to the Sharks. People were walking in, and I believe he and another player had left morning skate early so they could get dressed and fuck off,
Right,
and
of
not
course.
talk to anybody.
But beyond the naked part, that's the question I have: is that if a reporter's sick
Yeah.
Yes,
and it's not coronavirus, what if they just have a cold?
Right.
And that's if you're a team, that's your asset. You need your asset to be playing at their top level.
I have interviewed players dog sick. I talked to Jerome McGinley, and it's one of the top 5 sickest I've ever been. And I interviewed him. It was like 5 weeks before the Olympics. And I remember as a
Who
fan.
let you do that?
I know. I remember as a fan being like, I'm about to affect the Calgary Flames season and Team Canada potentially. And look, I didn't not shake his hand.
Right.
And it wasn't even just Jerome McGinley. I shook Jennifer Botterill's hand that day. I shook Jana Hefford's hand that day. I shook Jillian Apps' hand that day. Those were all key members of the Canadian women's team. They're training to go up against Team USA and everybody else, of course, on the biggest possible stage, a stage they've been working to get to their entire lives, and they might blow it because I had the sniffles. You know what I mean? So I've always found it strange, the proximity that we're given to players.
So I wonder if this isn't a convenient excuse
100%.
and for the NHL to just never open the dressing
Yeah.
rooms
Well,
again.
and this is what reporters are worried about, and I understand that. But I completely understand the NHL side on this.
But it's
Completely
ridiculous.
understand it.
Have you seen reporters getting mad at this? Because I've seen a couple, and they're getting mad at like the World Health Organization, the CDC.
You can't get mad.
Like,
you can't
come on.
objectively get mad at this.
Right.
Like, I'm
No,
sure.
I
I
don't
understand
think
in the moment.
reporters are mad they're doing it now. I think they're mad that they're probably going to try to do it going forward.
Right, because I think the reporters.
And I think those fears are based in fact. I think the
Yeah.
NHL
Yeah,
will
but
try to
maybe
do that.
they're going to do it this way for the next couple months, and we're going to discover that, hey, you can do your job without being in the locker room, and it's better this way.
There was the Marlies did it their way, and there was one reporter who never friggin' went, who had anything to say about it. None of the
I think
regulars had any
haven't you
problem
mentioned
with
him on the show before? I don't even know if you have.
It was Damian Cox. Like he
And he was a total.
famously
And he was
complained-
really mean about it
Yeah.
too.
He tweeted about it, so it's not a secret.
Yeah, we don't need to get into
Yeah,
it. He wanted Kyle Dubas at intermission during a playoff game. What? And then he wanted to go into the locker room because that's how the Marlies did it a few years ago, and I guess he hadn't been for several years. And then he comes back and you're not allowed in the locker room, and he got mad about it. It was one guy. Like I did the World Juniors. They didn't let us in the locker room.
No.
We had the mixed zone. No one complains in those situations. And no matter what situation you're in this cramped friggin' environment.
I don't think I've seen a lot of interviews from the KHL, but the ones I have seen have not been in the dressing room.
No, in Europe,
And I
don't
don't-
think they
soccer
do it.
survives, you know? They have a
Yeah,
podium.
boy, it's too bad they don't have enough people covering that.
Right.
And,
So
and
I
no
feel like-
stories ever come out about
Yeah,
players.
listen, people
and-
hate change. I get it,
Right.
but it can be done a different
But-
way. And maybe it isn't. Maybe it's outdated. Maybe it's antiquated. Maybe
We're
I
asking
don't know.
somebody who's done it for 30 years to change their way.
Yeah.
I understand why there's pushback.
I don't
Yeah.
think anyone's wrong. Is that
Yeah.
a weak take? I don't know, maybe. But like I've never depended on it, but I've also never seen the necessity of it.
Moving on. From Hockey Night Canada headlines, Elliot Friedman dropped a bomb last night about Jim Little and Eugene Melnyk. Now, if you don't know who Jim Little is, he is the former CEO of the Ottawa Senators. And you're asking yourself, why would anybody want that job? Well, based on this, I don't think Jim Little wanted the job. Jim Little and Eugene Melnyk got into a humdinger of a conversation, a real
Pretty
fight.
good one.
And this happened on Valentine's Day. For some reason, we know what date it happened on. It was on Valentine's Day, and it was so bad, in fact, and this was over the phone, that employees heard it. Lots of people heard it, and it's funny at the time that it did not leak. And that might be because there aren't a lot of people working for the Senators, but those who are there, and they're working hard. The people that are still working for the Sens, everything I've heard, they're doing 3 and 4 jobs. Like they're trying to keep that place moving.
They're operating like an OHL team.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So the people that are working there
In
are
some ways.
busting their cans right now.
Their social is so good with so little.
Now, apparently what Jim Little said after using a bunch of expletive words that we have not had a direct quote on. He apparently said a bunch of bad words and then said to Eugene Melnyk, the best thing that could happen to the Ottawa Senators is if you disappeared for 12 months. Now, the Ottawa Senators have said, we didn't have necessarily an issue with that. We have an issue with the way Jim Little spoke before that, meaning you can't speak like that in a workplace. It is not a part of our guidelines. But
I believe that is technically true.
I believe that is technically true as well.
But
Jim Little was fired because he simultaneously told the truth, number one, because he's not incorrect.
He didn't kiss
and
the
number
ring.
2, he bit the hand that fed him.
Yeah.
A good CEO knows when the owner, and they usually are, is a little crazy. Or a little, crazy is the wrong word, I won't use crazy. Erratic is a fairer word. I think erratic is more accurate. Jim Little knew when he took this job that Eugene Melnyk is erratic, to say the least. That's Eugene Melnyk's resume, erratic. And he knew what he was stepping into. When I read this quote, the best thing that could happen to Ottawa, the Ottawa Senators, if you disappeared for 12 months, Jim Little didn't want that job anymore. Jim Little was looking for a way out. But if Jim Little leaves, I bet there's something in his contract that says,
you can't go anywhere else?
No, you can't get as much. Because Jim is not, if you're the CEO of the Ottawa Senators, even though nobody wants that job, you're still probably pretty good at business. And you're smart enough to know that if you are let go before your contract's up, they have to pay you.
And what did I say? Like, the Sens were having a pretty normal season compared to last year. Now what's going to happen?
Well, I think that they're going to go. The Senators are saying also
we haven't heard from
that
Eugene Melnyk in
he wasn't
months.
even let go for that. They're saying that Jim Little's wife's blog post may have had some, and which I have not.
Where does this exist?
I want to know what the blog post says.
Yeah.
No one's told me what this blog post said, but apparently it was bad enough to get him let go. Here's the thing. Elliot Friedman then went on to say, you look for litigation on that one.
Yeah, I
So
didn't
2 years
understand.
from
also,
now-
it was his ex-wife.
Oh, his ex-wife.
Yeah,
who
which
knows?
is even stranger.
This is so bizarre, I don't even know. But this is so very Ottawa. And it's not the Senators players. And it's not the Senators fans. And it never is. It
No.
never is. The employees there are great. The players there have put in a season that's really admirable. They're bringing people back around. Bobby Ryan coming back from rehab, scoring a hat trick. People chanting Bobby in there. That's just one example of a young team that's busting their can every night. They really are there's no lack of effort from the Senators.
And you might point to the Uber video. That was an Uber driver being a complete creep.
And also that was last year.
And also that was
a
last year.
different team.
Yeah.
Different mindset.
But
This team-
I'm taking it away from the players.
Sure.
again,
This
right?
team this year has put in an unbelievable performance based on their talent level, let's be honest. And Jim Little is not incorrect when he says the best thing that Eugene Melnyk can do is disappear for 12 months. And it's unfortunate that Eugene didn't, because we were almost there.
Now,
When was the last time we heard from Eugene Melnyk?
well, context is important. Is that him going, you get lost for the next 12 months? Or was that him going, you've basically been out of the spotlight for 12 months and everything's gone so well?
I think it's a little column A, a little column B. It was him saying, the more you are involved with this, the worse that it gets. And he is not incorrect.
What's gone wrong for the Sens this season?
This.
This.
Yeah.
But everything else has been great.
They've done well.
Yeah, on the hockey side, it's been great.
On the hockey side, it's been
But here's the
absolutely
problem,
great.
guys. Owners own.
Yeah.
They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, they can waste their money however they please,
For sure.
which this guy is hell-bent on doing.
Yep. And it's a shame. But Jim Little, listen, I wasn't there for the conversation. If what he screamed was abusive language, yeah, you can let people go for that. That just does not, you cannot do that anymore. You never should have been able to, but you can't anymore. So if it was abusive language, yeah, you're going to be fired for that. But two things can be right. It could be the right thing to let him go.
Yeah.
And it's also true that Eugene Melnyk needs to disappear and continue disappearing. And also, I don't think Jim Little wanted that job anymore.
No.
I just don't think you say that to an owner if you really like your job. If you want to keep your gig, nah, you're not saying something like that.
I've covered hockey for a few years now. February is the hardest month. It really is.
I think it's a hard month on anybody that lives in a winter climate.
It's well, there's that, but there's the trade deadline, which I'm sure has everyone losing their mind. Mm-hmm. And the games like before or after the trade deadline, like just are so hard to get through.
Yep.
All-Star game?
All-Star game,
Yeah.
and like you're in a groove and you just fall right out of it. And these conversations, it doesn't surprise me that this conversation happened when it did.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? It's a volatile time of year, and if you're in a bad mood, which you probably are because it's February and you're in hockey, you're gonna say some things.
Yep.
That might get you fired. It doesn't surprise me.
Henri Richard passed away. 11 Stanley Cups with one guy.
Unbelievable.
And if he'd played a couple extra years, he would have been in the second time the Habs won 5 cups in a row. He retired just before the late 70s Habs. This is a guy that could have kept playing.
If he was a hockey team, I believe he'd be third all-time in cups.
He has as many cups as the Leafs organization in his career. He has as many cups as the Leafs have ever had.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
But Jack Todd hates him.
What? No.
No.
Yeah, he does.
No.
Jack Todd hates Henri Richard. Now, I hate to bring that about. I'd really rather focus on Henri Richard, but we got to talk about the Jack Todd thing because
I didn't see that.
So basically, it's probably good that you didn't, but he tweeted that Henri Richard was not a good guy.
Oh.
Which is great to do when someone dies. But Henri Richard did lots for the community, and like any person, is a person and imperfect. But what he referenced as the reason that Henri Richard was not a good guy was an incident with Al McNeil. Al McNeil, Calgarians will know Al McNeil because he was the assistant general manager when you won the Stanley Cup. Al McNeil was the coach, and in 71-72, they win the Cup, but Al McNeil famously did not have a great relationship with the Francophone players in Montreal. Now, I'm oversimplifying this. This led to Henri Richard speaking up and saying, this guy should probably not be the coach anymore, even though we won. And Henri Richard was a guy that Al McNeil had been benching. He had been playing him. Henri Richard scores the tying and the winning Stanley Cup goal that year, so he's got the power back, and he's also a Richard, right?
Yes.
You're a Richard. You're a god.
Your pocket rock.
Yes, and you won your 11th Cup. You've been there. And he was probably speaking for other members of his team who felt, and at the time this was far more acceptable. I don't think people realize how big the divide between English and French was in this country and how accepted it was that they just hated each other for no reason other than they spoke a different language.
Quebec almost left Canada like in our lifetime.
Yeah, 100%, because of stupid stuff like this. Now, I don't know Al McNeil personally. I don't know what his relationship was, but obviously it was bad enough with the Francophone players that Henri Richard had to speak up. Al McNeil loses his job. And people think that's unfair. But Al McNeil, unfortunately, got out of the way for some little-known guy named Scotty Bowman.
Dude, that was like
Henri Richard
50 years ago.
So Jack Todd is holding on to something about Montreal that happened in the early 70s, like you said, 50 years ago.
Thing?
That's the thing. And
that is not where I thought you were going.
And not only did they fire Al McNeil, which was just a tragedy for Montreal, because they ended up with all-time winningest coach Scotty Bowman. Are you kidding me, dude? That worked out for them. Sorry, Al, but it did. And anyway, Henri Richard deserves more than some stupid comment from a guy who's actively trying to court hate online. Henri Richard was a guy that, and I can relate to this on a little bit of a level. It's funny, when he came out of junior, they basically said, his coach said, he was like 150 something pounds, and the coach was like, his coach in junior, who was a former Montreal Canadian, said, you're not supposed to be in the NHL. You're not good enough. And the only reason that you're going to even get an invite to Habs camp is because Maurice said, yeah, give him an invite.
Well, and this was back when like a heavyweight in the NHL was like 175.
Yeah, and they still thought he was not big enough, not tall enough, whatever. Maurice Richard is 15 years older than Henri Richard. Henri Richard was sitting on his dad's lap when Maurice started playing for the Habs. when he was like 6 years old watching his big brother.
Wow.
He only wanted to be like Maurice. And what I love about this, and there's been a lot of amazing tributes, and I suggest you check them all out. The best part about this is Maurice was going to retire, and he stayed in there one more year to play with Henri.
That's cool.
And then Henri, so you had a Richard on the Canadians for like 25 years.
Wow.
That's really special. And I think they won the cup together too. I think that it is one of the most special stories in the NHL. I love the crossover part. And I love the fact that there's a player out there. Henri Richard, to me, is the ultimate second, third line center in the NHL's history. He was constantly a great leader. He was never the flashiest. He was never the biggest point getter. He was never a big goal scorer, whatever. But that guy was steady as they came in hockey at that time when there was only 6 teams in the league.
Got to talk to Serge Savard and Yvan Cournoyer, and they always said that, we had like 13 captains.
Yeah.
In the locker room.
And Henri would have been first among captains. He was a captain. He was a captain of the Montreal Canadiens. So anyway, our best to the Richard family. 11 Stanley Cups. Don't think that's ever going to be equaled again.
Not a chance.
Well said, Adam.
Anyway,
Well
and
said.
lastly, and I'm sad about this, but you know what? I was talking to Christina earlier today. I'd like to have Christina on Wednesday if we can. She's covering the Briar today, so I'm not going to bug her too much. She gave me we were going to connect because I wanted to bring her on to talk about this Dani Rylan story. Right. I'm going to ask you to read it because here's the thing. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say that the PWHPA, NWHL, NHL, women's hockey situation right now is a bit contentious. And when you start to talk about it, like we did at the beginning of the season, you have people that are hardcore pro NWHL, and you have people that are hardcore pro PWHPA, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of people who are like, hey, you're okay to be in the middle. And we that's why we had Anya Packer on, and that's why we had Liz Knox on.
Yeah. Had a lot of guys.
We had them on because we wanted to better understand both sides of the story. And our position here is always, let's cut through the bullshit and what's the best, most viable league option? There's one side that says the NHL's got to support it. The other side says, no, we need a league founded by a woman, hockey player who is a serial entrepreneur, and we need to do it that way.
Or even at baseline, well, no, let's play. Let's actually play.
Right. Which the PWHPA tour is doing.
Yes, but it's not a league.
Right.
Right.
And then I think this was supposed to be just the year-long thing. Anyway, a lot of the criticism, and I call it criticism, but it's really vitriol. It's personal attacks. When it comes to what's happening right now, has been leveled at Dani Rylan. A lot of that had to do with the fact that there's a few things at play, but Dani Rylan had to reduce salaries that they had promised the players because they just didn't bring in the revenue that they needed to bring in. But what I find interesting is when you get a bigger perspective on somebody who mostly has, at least within the online Twitter hockey community, a bad reputation. Dani Rylan, if you ask a lot of people online, is not going to get favorable reviews.
No,
but I still
we've talked about it for years.
But I still think it's interesting to know more about that person. And I have to tell you, Christina Rutherford does an incredible job. I have my opinions on it, but I'm going to save that until Wednesday because I think what Christina will have to offer, because she talked to Dani regularly and face-to-face, I think Christina's insight on it will be very, very interesting. So that's something we got to get to next episode because I think Christina always has that insight into the human side of people. And I think that I think you'll gain a lot as a hockey fan after reading this article. One way or the other.
And something, I don't know what there is to say on this other than it's a complete tragedy and friggin' sucks. The whole women's World Hockey Championship.
Yes, in Nova Scotia.
Canceled. And it would have been a banger. I saw some players rightfully go, it's not just that the tournament's canceled. Dude, Nova Scotia, man.
Well, they're going to do it in Nova Scotia next year.
Yeah, and
that's next year.
Listen, dude, I know. But I'm just saying, the coronavirus thing, you can't have the tournament.
Right.
You can't.
And they're not refunding tickets. They're saying everybody's tickets are valid for next year.
They should refund the damn
Which is, so
that's
a
crap.
lot of people are complaining about this.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think
that's a bullshit move.
They should fix that.
I feel like that shouldn't be legal.
I think you can do whatever you want once you sell a ticket, right?
Wow.
But
yeah, you should be able to refund the ticket. Yeah. But anyway, it's a shame. It really is. But at least when it does come back, when this stuff subsides, it will be in Nova Scotia. It's not like it's going to move on.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That was my point.
It's not like the Raptors exhibition game in Newfoundland. You ever hear about that?
No, what
It was
happened?
canceled because of the moisture on the floor.
Oh.
And they're like, oh, yeah, it's okay. We'll be back. And the crowd goes, yeah, in 5 years or something
Wow.
like that. And they go, what? Boo! Yeah. It's, oh, man, that's brutal.
Anyway, let's do the press conference.
I think we're all good.
Okay, let's not. Oh, screw that.
Screw that.
Hey, if you had a question, screw your question.
Yeah,
I'm
screw
kidding.
your questions.
So yeah, next episode, we're going to try to book Christina Rutherford. We've got,
What happened?
I'm going to say this now, but I'm also going to ask, because I forgot to say this at the beginning of the show, that we reinsert this into the beginning of the show.
Okay.
We never make edits, but I want to make an edit on this one. Guys,
What do you want to say?
we sold out in Kingston.
Oh, no way!
Sold out Kingston. It sold out in 48 hours.
Wait,
So
why
there's-
does it have to go at the beginning if you can't buy
It has to go at the beginning because I have an announcement.
Oh.
Okay.
What?
So I'm gonna, yeah. So we have an announcement. So
There you go.
100 tickets sold at 9 o'clock tonight.
At what time?
9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This episode will be up.
Hopefully.
Sure.
If you
but
don't hurry up,
whatever,
Adam.
we'll tweet it.
Yeah. What,
There
if you
will
keep talking,
be-
I can't put it up.
There will be a new block.
it out.
There will be a new block of tickets
Talk about
released.
it.
No, seriously. I
yeah,
got
right,
it.
I know,
There will be a new block of tickets released. Not a lot. Standing room only. And they will be available. You will not be able to obviously get a table. The tables have sold out. But if you would like to still come, you still can. New block of tickets, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. Steve and I and Jesse will all tweet out the link at that time. And so, it's first come, first serve. And the other thing that you should know is that if you cannot, let's say you missed out on the first set of tickets, you missed out on the second set of tickets, guess what? We're sticking around for the game, and they're opening up the bar to everyone as soon as the game starts.
So if you don't get into the event,
you can still come hang.
Oh.
Yeah.
there you go.
All right.
All right?
And each ticket comes with a free hug from Steve.
Man, coronavirus.
Yeah, maybe not.
Oh. Sorry.
Is Corona available?
Maybe. I don't know. I didn't
want
check their
one.
beer list.
gotta have
Yeah,
one.
no, listen. We'll do a lot of that. What is it, the forearm bumps that they're doing
elbow.
now? Yeah, the elbow thing.
Yeah,
We're going to do
elbow
that.
5.
Some of you weren't raised in Scarborough, and it shows.
What?
What?
Shut up. Sometimes I sit here and I always forget how cool you are. And then you remind me.
Cool.
Then you remind me,
Damn.
Coolest guy in the universe, Steve Dangle.
Ladies and gentlemen,
You're all blessed.
Steve Dangle.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Brought to you by Panago Pizza. Order at panago.com and stuff your face with deliciousness. Connection complete.